Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. It is the big one, the one you've been waiting for. A 2026 season preview episode is here. We sit down and we will talk over the next few hours, every single team in detail, pros and cons for your season ahead, including our predicted finish for you, your side, and who we think will be your player of the year. It's a very, very exciting season coming up. I think every rugby league fan is salivating. It really does look like one of the closest seasons we've ever witnessed. Coming up with a top 8 at the moment is almost impossible. There are so many teams that when you'll start seeing some of our predictions who are missing out, and we're just thinking, I think to myself, how are these sides missing the 8? Like, it's just going to be an extremely close season, which I think is awesome to see. I'm along with Trav once again. Trav, we are back at our basically home away from home. It's our home game, basically, at the Caxton Street Brewing Company. So shout out to the guys there, Tori and the crew, once again for hosting us for this episode. We only come here for the big ones, guys, and this one is a very, very big one. Obviously, with the season coming up as well, just quickly, make sure you note in your calendar, come down here and check it out, because get yourself a couple of beers, get yourself a couple of the cans and things like that. They are amazing drops, and it's the best way to get yourself kick-started heading down to Suncorp Stadium. But Trav, welcome. We've got the big one today. I can't believe it's already come around, but at the same time, it's been a long cricket season. Give me some footy.
Yeah. Oh, man. Are we 28 days from footy?
From this recording, yes.
28 days from this recording. It's a sad day on the 31st, last day of Jan too. So it's officially the countdown. Man, I'm so excited. Like, yeah, I don't think it's been a long cricket season. I've loved watching us kick the Poms' ass. But, yeah, man, basketball season's only done slightly enough for me. I need that itch scratched in 28 days. Let's go. Bring on Vegas.
Mate, we're going to be scratching plenty of itches today, and I hope everyone out there listening, watching, firstly, please make sure you're hitting that subscribe tab. Make sure you're adding some comments, sharing it around. If you're listening via any of the podcast means you can do give us a rating as well. It does go a long way of helping us grow, reach new audiences and things like that. And it's all completely free way of actually supporting the page, and it means the world to us. So I've got Rob as well here. The producer is back. Dan, Dan the man, as his nickname has become. Unfortunately, all our Cowboy bashing last year, it wasn't enough to push him away, which we're actually very thankful for. Maybe after this preview, this might be the last one he actually does decide to come back for, but we will see. We'll get to them at some point. Yeah,
Dan the man rubs off the tongue well.
Yes.
Rob does a good job, doesn't. So, yeah. I like Dan the man.
Yeah, that's actually very valid points. So I can get around that one now. And finally, when you are listening to this is actually now live, guys, our magazine. So we are making an impact this year. It's a new Rugby League dedicated magazine. It's run by us and a couple of our other content creator mates. So we've got Isaac Issa, and we've also got Watch Her Footy jumped on board for this as well. So this is a pre-season edition. We're going through all the clubs in detail, plenty of articles, in-depth stats and predicted round one lineups and things like that. This is just basically a must-have, must-read. So to access this, go and head on over to our Facebook page. Click on that subscriber tab. It's like the top right-hand corner of our Facebook page, and you get access to that, plus a whole heap of other exclusive content each and every day, including for those Supercoach lovers. There's so much Supercoach stuff in there at the moment. It is going gangbusters. So you simply must be part of it. And obviously in season, this then becomes a weekly magazine. So each month you'll be getting 4 editions of this, and it's only $4.49 per month. So it is cheaper than a cup of coffee, and this is getting you so much extra content. And the best thing is, during the season, we're actually bringing back the old Rugby League week player ratings. So make sure you're helping, if you can, just spare a little bit of your shrapnel that's lying around to help the page, but we're also giving you back so much more content. And I know me and the guys have been working on this for a long time now. We're very, very excited to bring this out to you. Hopefully you receive it really well. We've loved doing the start of it, and there's plenty more of it to come. It's been fun to put that hat on, I guess, Trav, and come up. We're not media personalities, things like that. We don't tend to stretch that, but to sit down and just play that role, it has been quite exciting and quite fun.
It's different. Being a teacher, you'd think English and writing would be a strong point, and writing is definitely not. But look, I will be honest. I've spent the last 2 weeks putting my little article together for it and have thoroughly enjoyed every one of it. A few stresses, as everyone knows what I'm a bit like, but it's been thoroughly enjoyable. I will admit, our Super Coach first part is a must read.
Yes.
I'm gonna use the keyword must read. It's quality. I will admit this is the best thing Jesse and I have put together since we've been doing this.
That is literally all you need to know, guys. Plus everything else we've got coming. Isaac's coming in with every single player signing, loss, everything that's happened to your club will be in detail. Watch Her Footy's coming on board, and for this one, she's going to be also doing that from an NRLW point of view. And there's been so much happening in that space. You just simply must believe us. Go ahead, go and enjoy that read. It's massive. It's like 60 odd pages. It's a digital magazine. Cannot wait for you guys to all enjoy it. But let's get into what you're all listening, watching for, and we're going to start with the defending premiers. So the Brisbane Broncos, obviously last year they did finish fourth, but then ended up taking it home. Let's get into the pros first, Trav. This is pretty easy to come up with a few pros when it comes to the Brisbane Broncos, because the one thing that I look at straight away, they've had this aura for so long now about this pretty boy, this confidence that this team's had, and they haven't deserved it. They now do deserve it. They now thoroughly have done the hard work to get this confidence and the aura and training with a shirt off, things like that. Like, no one can say a thing now because they've reached the ultimate. I think the fact that a lot of these players in this playing group have this sky-high confidence is one of the biggest pros in any of these teams at the moment, and makes the Broncos so dangerous heading into this year.
Yeah, they didn't start off super well, did they? And
No.
and everything was about that. It was that pretty boy thing. It's this Madge is hard yards coming in, isn't working. There was a meeting and all sorts of bits and pieces. But I think you're right. Like, the confidence is sky high, and they can take that pretty boy image in Bris Vegas and ride with it. And I wonder if Madge, and I really hope to see, I haven't gone through it too much with some of Madge's interviews and bits, but if Madge can find that really nice blend of pretty boy image, these boys are the boys and they're going to do what they do, but what they did in 2025, man, it's scary times for the league. They should be. They're the hunted as well. So, and I actually think being the hunted is something that's going to give them so much more confidence, because they've got some guys in that team that just have some unreal egos. Yeah,
they do. And I've heard a lot of people start to talk already on a few podcasts and some media articles, things that talk about that they're hoping or they're thinking that Madge might reel things in. They might start bit more conservative, things like that. I hope that's not the case. No. I actually hope they just come out, bull at a gate, say we are the big dogs of the NRL now. We're there for a reason, because I just can't see Madge, after everything that happened last year and the way even he unfolded and grew as a coach and learnt this playing group. I just can't imagine him sitting there in preseason and then talking to the likes of Walsh, Mam, Staggs, this exciting backline, and going, you know what, guys? Let's take away everything that you've just done so well and you've grown to do, and these combinations have flourished now. I can't see him taking that back. If anything, I can see him going, let's find this another gear. Let's go again.
It would just be stupid. Like, it really would be. Like, everyone creamed that team in preseason and say, Madge, you need to go in here with this. Here's the line. Either cross it or see you later. And Madge went in and did some big things in terms of calling some of these players. But then calling some of these weird and random selections that he had with Goz and all that sort of stuff. And then by the end of it, they won some games across. Well, obviously they won enough to get to fourth place, but by the end of the season, the last third, what happened? Yeah. They bloody won. They won everything. And how did they win? Because they just were flying. And you're right. Like, if you can't don't put Walsh on a leash. No. Like, you just shown that if you restrict him, you're going to get what you got in the first half of the year. If you unrestrict him, you're going to get one of the best seasons that we're ever going to see. Yeah. Karapani just came off out of nowhere. Like, Staggs was unreal. He showed his attacking game consistently. Shibasaki comes from a rookie contract, is still probably a rookie contract, who bloody knows at the moment, and became one of the best centers in the comp. Like, man, Yeah, well, we just got to get past it. I continue to keep seeing comments on our posts and things about, oh, we don't like Mam and blah, blah, blah. You still just, we're rugby league people, right? And we talk about the game. So we've got to talk about the game now and just ignore what's happened. Mam is one of those guys. And then you've got Haas, you've got Piakura coming back from injury, although he's injured again. Pat Carrigan, like I was going to say Paragon. Pat Carrigan and the likes, like, these guys here can't be leashed anymore, and so let them go.
No, I agree. You've mentioned it as well. Like another big pro for them at the moment is just some of this quality that they've got some of the best players in certain positions, and that's massive. I look at that at the start of the year and see clubs and try and rank a lot of the positions and things like that. And the Broncos have top 2 or 3 in so many positions, which is so key. You talk about Walsh, Haas, Carrigan, Staggs has become one of the best centers in the game. You say like Mam's, like take everything out of it, but when you look at footy skills, he's one of the best 5'8" in the game. Like he can just break a game open. We've seen that time and time again. So I want to ask you where you would go with this, because it seems to be a bit up in the air at the moment. Potentially this whole spine's going to be fully fit to start the year. And we did see last year when that was the case, Walsh wasn't at quite his best. And you'd probably say then that the Broncos weren't either. How do you tackle that problem to start the year? Because I think we've seen at the end of the year, Walsh wants the ball, he gets the ball. Does Reynolds, can he control his ego? I know he's got probably a year left, maybe 2 at a stretch. I know we've seen Hunt can control it, but can Reynolds come back into this team and say, you know what, if I'm calling for the ball, but then in the last second Walsh overcalls me, get him the ball.
He simply has to. That's all he's got to do. Like you saw in the grand final to start the game, what the Broncos were like when Reynolds had his hands on the ball too much and the Storm ran over them. Yeah. Reynolds gets injured, or even just before that, when Reynolds stopped being that massive, I need the ball in my hand, off I go, and Walsh just took Walsh. I'm on a roll. Walsh took over. They were unbeatable. And so I just think simply this is it. That's what they've got to do, and they have to go in the preseason saying, just let's unleash these guys and let's go. And Reynolds just needs to be able to just one step pass, good kick. Because Mam's not the greatest kicker, and there's really no one else other than Walsh. Walsh is an amazing kicker off the run, off your 4th and 5th tackles. But Reynolds just has that, I'll put the ball on a dime kick, right? And lock them right into that last 10. And so, yeah, that's literally all he has to do. And if he can do that, that'll probably help his health for his body as well. And yeah, simply, that's just what they've got to do.
Who would you have goal kicking? Would you go Reynolds or would you have Walsh?
No, I'd go Reynolds. Yeah. I think Reynolds is still a better kicker.
Yeah.
Walsh is a great kicker, but Reynolds is elite.
I was thinking, would you try and protect Reynolds' body as much as possible, so take something else out of him? But
I just don't think 5 or 6 kicks a game, like for goal, is a big detriment to his body or anyone's body, really.
I think 2 points in this day and age, competition points, is massive anytime you can get it. So, and that can also often be separated by goal kicking. So if you can guarantee a few wins with your goal kicking, and Reynolds is one of the best in the comp, you just make sure if he's fit, he's on that field, he's goal kicking, basically.
And those points are early days in that season that they've got with the early run. That's quite difficult, is going to be really important, so that they can release the shackles during Origin and they can release it, in the last third of the year. It's really important they get off to a good start. So I think, look, Walsh, I don't think Walsh is going to miss some of the kicks that Reynolds that might make. I think Walsh is still a good kicker, but Reynolds is elite.
Sure it up. Another quick one. We obviously, this is all every year when the draw on that comes out. This is run through the mud. To be fair, we've said similar comments and things like that. But when we're talking about season previews and the pros and that, obviously a huge pro is the fact that they get so many games at home and also just in Queensland itself. It is just the way it is now. It happens, but it is a massive advantage, and it's something that really helps the Broncos in this fight this year. The fact that we're going to get into it in a little bit, where the teams will be up on being A's every week, they at least get to wear a little bit of that majority of the time at home, which is a huge plus.
7 games at home. 7 games in Queensland. One of them's in the Gold Coast, which is an entire hour drive down.
Is that away games you're talking?
That's, yeah. Yep. No, it's home games. But that game at that game at the Titans is an away game, obviously, before their bye in round 12.
Oh, yep.
So, I mean, they've got to go to Allianz to play the Roosters, and then they've got to go to Four Pines in round 10 to play Manly, and that's their 2 double travel that they've got to do. And I think they've probably just chucked that in just to make up for Magic Round and the extra games they get at home. Their first games, they got Penrith at home, then they've got Parrot at home, then they go to the Storm in Melbourne, then they've got the Dolphins at home, then they've got the Titans on the Gold Coast. It's just it's a massive unfair advantage, isn't it?
It's an advantage and a half, that's for sure. A couple of the little cons, which to be fair, guys, there's not much at all. It's really trying to pick at a little few things, but one of the things that I wanted to touch on was you mentioned a bit earlier is being the hunted, which I think is a huge thing at the moment because we've seen Penrith, they basically made this look stupid in a way because they were just so good at it for so many years being the hunted, but it is so hard to do. Like, it is almost an impossible task to each week, let alone each year, be the hunted consistently. And they were able to have this surprise element to them last year. The Broncos, they really kicked off and had this run basically at the time where everyone wrote them off last year. It got to the point where everyone was like, if you don't win this game, you're not making finals, basically. And they finally then just, it all happened for them. But this year, they verse every team that will verse the Broncos, they'll circle in the calendar and go, that's the game where we're giving our absolute all. I'm making sure every single player that week is doing everything they can do proper to put one on the Premiers and say, no, we're the team this year. So they're going to have to deal with that each and every week. Like, their players, they'll be sore, they'll be licking their wounds, but they'll be like, far out, I've got to go again this week. Like, there'll be no easy games for them, which can hurt. It can definitely hurt because for teams, you don't say it out loud to the media and that, but you'd be thinking deep down, like, you'd look at draws and you'd go, all right, this week I've got the Titans. That's sweet. I can finally go, but this year you're going to go, far out. The Titans, I know they're going shit or whatever it's going to be, but they're going to be good. Like, they'll be going us. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, and then add the World Club Challenge to start the year and all sorts of things. So that could work as a bonus as well, is that you've had that really good run early as you step into the season. But yeah, you're right. Reynolds is too good a captain, I think, isn't he? And as a player and as a leader, then Staggs is becoming a leader. Walsh is becoming a leader. You've got Carrigan, which is comfortably a captain in any team in the competition. Like, I don't think these guys are going to allow that type of thing to be too much or be it. And they're going to talk about that. They've just got they don't have stars. They have superstars across their list. And then they've got one of the better coaches. Yep. So, I 100% get what you're getting. But I think the Broncos, they love being that pretty boy. Like that. That's their mentality. That's how they've been. I think they're going to love even more being the hunted. Yeah. It's a mentality
stroke their ego.
It would. Yeah. I think it does. I think it does for them.
Yeah, each week they can just sit there afterwards, laying in bed going, they just came with their actual best. They just gave us their best version of themselves, and we just beat them by 20.
And you're the ones coming for us. Yeah. We're not chasing you anymore. Yeah. So I just think that's a big thing for that mentality that they have. Yeah.
The last one I ought to sort of bring up was just the fact of potential burnout. It has been a big... It's sort of gone on. I think it's gone under the radar a little bit because this is the World Cup year, but it's actually been a big 12 months in the Rugby League calendar because we had a pretty decent international window at the end of last year, which I know everyone wants more and more, which is great. But the fact is, at the moment, we're getting more and more international games, but the NRL season isn't any shorter. It's the same length. It's then got finals, and the Broncos have played a lot of games last year, a lot of big games. A lot of their rep players then played some really big games at the end of the year. They've had a little bit of a rest. I think the best thing that goes against this is the fact that a lot of their good young players are young. They're not old guys that are getting towards that peak. I still think they've got a couple of years till they get to that sort of area in their careers. But the potential burnout factor, thinking ahead to like the World Cup and things like that, might be a factor if we're trying to find things.
Look, I think of this, the Broncos probably have to deal with that the most because they've got so many international players. Plus, there's a couple of key older guys. Yeah. The thing about the Broncos this year is that they've got some good depth.
Yeah.
So you've added Grant Anderson in, so who can play in the halves for a game or for a half of a game. Yeah. But then also go out in the wings, go to the centers. They've got Paik sitting out there, who can move into the hooker spot. We can put Ben Hunt somewhere else. You've got there's some good wingers in the ranks. And then there's a couple of injuries that are sitting there. And then there's huge talk about this Oblix Tawa.
Tawa.
Yeah. and that he might get the start this year. Like, so there's some good depth there. So even if there is a bit of burnout and they rest, they've got guys, like, they're not the same, but they've got guys that can make do for a game here and there. Like, so yeah, burnout's it's a good point. As I said, Broncos probably have that the worst out of any club, but I think they've got the list now to deal with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think if anything, if they can potentially go ahead and do it again this year, I think next year will be the big year for that burnout factor, because it's the World Cup. Players like Haas emotionally being for Samoa, where they just buy so far into that sort of campaign, and it means so much to these guys. Next year might be the big worry, where I think we'll focus on, obviously looking ahead, 2027 season preview. That'll be the talking point for a lot of these teams, moving forward. Just quickly as well, I should have mentioned this to start with. You probably think when Trav just mentioned it then, at the start, I'm not really going into the ins and outs and things like that. We've covered that in post and that so far. We're doing that more closer to the season as well. We've obviously got in our magazine as well. So I didn't want to waste airtime too much and at the start going through all these numbers and that for you guys. You've all probably read things as well already. So we'll touch on the key players and stuff like that. But just in case you're thinking, season preview without telling us who they've signed, I just know by now most of you people listening would already know what all these guys have done in their rosters and things like that. Let's go. Any other points you wanted to bring up before we move on to some of these little predictions?
No, not about the Broncos. No. I think we just summed it up pretty well. I actually think most, really, if anything, we know what we're going to get from the Broncos, and it's just about whether they do it. Yeah. And if they don't, it's going to be huge talking points throughout the year. But we all predict that they're going to. So,
and it's up to the opposition to stop it now.
Literally, yeah.
And like we know, Madge's one of the best. He's basically put a stamp on this now. He's one of the best coaches in the NRL without a doubt. So it's up to these other coaches, whether they're the young ones coming up or the experienced guys, to stop it, to find plans to stop it.
Well, but one quick point that I will say about that is, let's look at the last 5 premiership winners, and have a look at every year that they've won it. And obviously that's the Penrith Panthers have won the 4 and the Storm before that. How many players they lost after that? Have a look at the Broncos in 2026.
Haven't lost
It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
It is. That's a very good point to end on. Predicted finish. So this is just our ladder positioning, guys. So we won't go too far into this and obviously try and predict finals. We don't know what's going to happen by then, but we'll just predict where we think they'll finish on the ladder. Again, you can find all this on the magazine as well. There's a big in-depth write-up, and you can see all of our the members of League of Inches, our predictions. Your predicted finish for the Broncos, Trav?
Yeah, so I went through and did my ladder on like a game-by-game, predicted who would win. Then I put in where Origin would be and what I thought teams might replace and do all that sort of stuff.
You had some nice slow piano music in the background. You just get the candles out. You just set yourself up for a few hours.
I did it in the bath too.
Oh.
And look, it came out that with my predicted ladder, the Broncos to come third. So my whole ladder is built on that. So I'm just going to go with that. Look, there's lots to go by, and there's people that's going to message me and go, "What the hell? It's Origin and 27 rounds that you're predicting games, and it's game by game and blah 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 blah." And I get it. I'm in tipping comp, so it'll change as we go. But yeah, for me to get this ladder, this is sort of how I've done it. And the Broncos came out in third. And when I put it next to my ladder that I did without doing that, I had the Broncos second. So I'm going to sit with Broncos sitting second and third, but third is where I'm going to officially put it.
I've locked them in for second. I think they're in for another belter of a year, and I think they'll absolutely flourish being the hunted, and just this ego stroke that they'll get each and every week will keep them going for long enough. Whether they can do it in the big games, well, that's a different talking point. We'll tackle that at the end of the year. Player of the year. I've gone Paddy Carrigan for me. I know there'll be plenty out there predicting the obvious, Walsh or Haas. I've been very big on Paddy Carrigan so far this preseason. I just think he is due to not to go out of the lot, like to step into the limelight. I think he's always been in it, but he's always just been, everyone else has been spoken about in that team. I think it's Pat Carrigan's year to really put a full stop on things. He's going to go back to having a full year at lock. Last year he obviously started at prop, and it didn't quite work, even though many out there think they're very similar positions. I just love that he'll get the full season at lock. He's just got that now premiership aura about him. He's so big. He's just this guy who looks like Hercules. He plays like it. I just think it's his year, very, very consistent guy as well. I think that'll mean a lot. I've gone Paddy Carrigan.
I like that pick. He never came into contention for me, but I do like it. I just have to go with, I'm going to double down here or even triple down here and put down Walsh. I've got a few predictions I've put out there that I've said that Walsh is going to put one of the biggest years that we've ever going to see, just based off what happened there, and maybe that's a bit of recency bias. So I'm just going to have to triple down here and put him down as player of the year.
Once it goes out there, you just got to keep banging it down.
That's it.
Just keep doing it, brother.
Yep.
Let us know, guys, in the comments what you think, your predicted finish and your player of the year for the Brisbane Broncos. The Sydney Roosters now. So obviously last year for the Sydney Roosters, they finished 8th and were bundled out in the first week of finals. So they would have been very disappointed in that. They started to really look like, I think many out there thought from their point of view anyway, that they'd be able to do something in the finals, had some of their players fit and things like that. But it wasn't quite meant to be. But when we talk about pros for the Sydney Roosters, one thing that I think many have looked at so far when it comes to the Roosters and their side is the fact that it's a stacked side, it's a stacked squad. There is so much happening here that it almost, I'll go out and say it'd be a huge failure if this side isn't top 4 this year. Like just, that has to be the mentality. It's almost as far as saying if they're not a top 2 side. That looks how good this side is. But again, it's on paper. We've seen this story with the Roosters a few times over the last few years. I know they've had a mega side to try and get over in the Panthers, and then you add the Storm into it as well. But for a lot of these years, they've had these quality on-paper sides, which just haven't been able to do it, whether it's because of a key injury or whatever. But this pro, Trav, this stacked side, the big pro I find for it is you're sitting there in pre-season, you're looking in meetings, and you look at some of these players you've got next to you thinking, holy crap, this is a year. Like, I'm actually thinking I'm starting a pre-season right now with a premiership contending team.
What was the reason last year that that we all predicted that they would either wouldn't make the 8 or just
lost a lot of talent?
They did, but there was one key one.
Sam Walker was out for half the year,
and look what they still did look what they did when he came back. Now he's had a preseason, so he's back, right? And then they're going to put down next to him a guy like DCE, which now has come out saying that he's the 7 and that he's the 6 and Walker's going to play that 7, which we all want them to do. So now you add that plus Noffa White, Sua Wong, Marky Mark. They've just brought in Robson. Like you now they've given all of these guys that had to go in for a year and replace the talent that they lost in your Fisher Harrises, Wilria Hargraves and the like. And they've replaced them after another year. They made 8, got to the top 6. They lost in the first one. So, but do that, now have a look what they're doing. So it's only natural progression now that they're healthy and with what they've got to go and do what they're doing. Yeah.
We also say stack side. We look at the spine. There's arguments out there to say it's potentially the best spine in the competition. Now, there's a little bit of a discussion here because I can see an argument. I could actually argue both sides of this in a weird way because I can see on paper how this spine looks amazing, but I can also see, and it sort of goes into a little bit of the cons, but it sort of just molds in together. This is what we're trying to do here today. Just basically general chats is, firstly, Trav, obviously Tedesco, DCE, Sam Walker, Robson. Any team would say, give us that. Like, we would bend over in a heartbeat and take that.
Still one of the best fullbacks in the competition. Top 3 hookers in the competition. Probably top 3, top 4, I'm going to say top 3, but at least top 5 halfback in the competition. And, DCE, who's no scrub.
Proven rep captain, winner, everything. Like he's a proven winner.
At the end of his career, we get it, but he doesn't have to go in and be a gun halfback anymore. He just has to be a leader. I am just not going to write Teddy off anymore. I'm just going to have to wait. Teddy's just going to have to prove to me that he's on the end of his career than anything. So Teddy's still there for me. So 100%. It's just how they blend. What I think Robson as the hooker for that group is premium.
Yeah.
Like, because he's not a sexy player, right?
Meat and veg.
I was gonna go a different way there, but I picked myself up. But he's just not that guy, like that hooker of, he doesn't scream appeal, does he? Like, but he just does what he's got to do. Like, he's just a hard runner, a good passer, doesn't make mistakes, and plays really good defense.
He's
and
a
that's
pig.
literally.
He's a pig. He gets in the mud. He's happy to get in the mud.
And he loves it.
Yeah.
And that's all he has to do in this team when you've got that fullback and those halves and those wingers and those props and those forwards. Like, then you add your Carrigan or the like in it. That's all he's got to do. Like, but it's elite.
It really is. And I'm not worried at all about Robson. I think he'll do fantastic. I think if we're being fair income, they have been lacking in that hooker department for a couple of years now. Brandon Smith just didn't shape up to what they were hoping it was going to be. Watson's been decent without setting the world on fire for a while now, and I think he at the moment with the games probably suits that more impact style forward/hooker if need be. So I think that'll suit him better. I think to have this established guy who can, if he needs to, play 80 while having this young gun in Aielu coming through as well, who's just a freak in the making. You're like, it shapes him up good. The worry that I have here, now this is going to the other side of it, is the half pairing in terms of Walker's a star, Walker's a freak, no worries about him. I'm more so worried about DCE the more I think about it. The more I sit in my car, driving to places, listening to things, and I'll go back to last year and I feel like, and I think Manly fans would bag us if we weren't honest with this, we bagged him a lot. But there was so many podcasts in that where, firstly, for how he handled things, didn't like it. Secondly, he was just, it looked like each week he was digressing as a player. It was like we were screaming, going, don't worry about going next year. Just retire. Like, save yourself now and just retire. Like, I just keep bringing myself back to that. I then try and think about it. Well, he's out of Manly. He's out of a side that was really struggling, a coach that was really struggling, an organisation that was really struggling. He didn't help it. No, he didn't. But I can't see this halves pairing working at the start, especially at the start. I just feel like this is going to be one of those marriages where it's your like everyone's got those friends out there, that friend group where there's that couple that constantly fight and bicker, and you're like, what are you doing together still? Like, what are you guys achieving here? And they just do it. They hardly talk. They're doing anything. I get that vibe here.
Yeah, I disagree. I really don't. I think this DC is going to this team knowing that Sam Walker's that man. And has to be. And DC didn't help himself, but unfortunately, and I'm really sorry, but to be honest, I'm going to say this really loudly, and I'll say it again when we get to that team. I had Manly in my top 4 last year. I had them in the top 4. I'm not negative against them. I am now because of what I saw and what happened, and that's all I'm going to go. But they were in my top 4 based off what it was. Going into them, what happened last year, do you not expect like almost any halfback to regress the way that DC did naturally? Like the coach, the injuries, the talk, Turbo out, the play on the wings, the play injuries through the forward prop, like his partner in Brooks who just didn't really do much. Like, what do you expect? Like, we have to expect that that's what he's going to do. Now he's going into this elite team with an elite halfback that he literally just has to bomb because that's what he's still good at doing. He's still got a leg on him. He's literally just got to make one pass and set things up and lead everybody around and help Walker to be that extra coach. And let's be honest, he's actually taking a coaching role. He's a coach. He's got that that position as a coach. So I understand why we're saying this. I get it, but I don't see any problems with it. And if anything, it's going to help them a lot. Last year they were second in the competition for errors, and the reason why they bloody lost that first final was because they were ugly with their errors and their penalties. I think DCE is going to literally come in here and just limit that entirely.
That finals game last year, they were screaming for a leader, an organisational leader,
and that's what they missed.
And this is which. That's not a bag on Walker either, who I think can do it. I just think there is times where they may need that whole side still needs that one guy. We keep going back to the Cronk era and what happened there, but they just need that guy who on the field just literally just says to everyone, just shut the F up basically, listen to me, do this and we'll win the game. And it just feels like sometimes that ego, because we're the Roosters, sometimes gets in the way of some of these younger guys who are still just trying to establish themselves.
But can you imagine, though, if DC does come in and that half works and they stop those errors, they were still 6th in the competition for points, yet they were 2nd for errors.
Yeah.
They were 8th in the competition for penalties, and yet they were 6th for points
Yeah.
gained. That's incredible. Now, if they stop those errors, because a lot of those penalties from games that I've watched were on the back of because of an error. So, if they can stop those errors, that limits those penalties, and they push those points up. Man, the sky's the limit for the Roosters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One final question I want to ask you. Let's say it doesn't go the way we're anticipating this probably Rooster season to go. Do you think, let's say they finish 9th or 10th this year, do you reckon pressure mounts onto Trent Robinson? Do you reckon there's I don't think they would sack him this year, but I think there'd be a very much a talking to as if to say next year by round 6, if you're not in the top 4 looking good, it's time to call this.
Yeah, and they'll still essentially have the same team next year, unless Teddy has a regression, which again we're not predicting. But 100%.
Yeah,
if you've got that list, and then you've had the list that he's had, and granted, yes, he's come up against a 4-peat and a Storm team and the like. If that's he's had some pretty tough teams to come up against, and they've done pretty well, and then, but there's still got to be pressure on that guy. Even then, there's a lot of talk out there that Trent Robinson isn't the greatest of X's and O's coaching, and he's more of a people person. But then there's talk that he's, then I've heard things that he's not that greatest people person and stuff like that. So I 100%. If they're not top 4 and things fail here, or they don't make it to at least a prelim, his head's on the chopping block.
I'd say if anything below a top 4 finish this year, I would probably put down as a failure, and I'd start to be looking and asking some serious questions about, is this really working? Because I just think we keep saying all these other good teams have been up against, but if we're going to just go back and call things how it is, the Roosters have never been one of those guys, teams or organisations that make those excuses. They see themselves as the best constantly. They've got the money to do so. They've got the recruitment capabilities to do so. They've got the facilities to do so. So they would always hold themselves every year, no matter what, probably apart from last year where there was legit reasons because of how much they did lose. Mostly every other year while they've had those players and that, they'd go, you know what, we'll beat them. Yep. And they just have had shocking records against most of them and the like. So what about your predictive finish for the Sydney Roosters? I'll go first with you. I've got them as 3rd. So I think it's a good season coming up for the Roosters. As I said, I tried to do a few of these to see where I end up with a few of these teams, and every time I do it, I have to have them in my top 4. I just can't look at this roster and see it not. I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen, but yeah, I've got 3rd.
They've got a really good start. Obviously a tough game over in New Zealand, but New Zealand still don't have, Barnett and Metcalf, which I think is a big deal. So they can go and win that game. They've got the Rabbitohs on the improve, a tough game against Penrith, then they've got Eagles, and they've got a round 5 bye. So if they get 3 of those games go into a bye, then they've got Sharks, Knights, Dragons, and then the Broncos in 9, then the Titans, the Cowboys, and then their next bye. So they're going to be well rested going into Origin, and I think they should win a few of those games. So I think they're going to go into Origin with a good winning record. So it was hard for me not to have them anywhere other than 2nd, and I can even see them 1st. But yeah, when I put my 2 ladders together, Roosters were actually 2nd in both times.
There you go. Second it is for the Roosters for Trav. What about your player of the year for the Roosters, mate?
That's a bloody hard one, hey. This was one of the hardest ones to do, because I can just see that on the back of a Noffa White leading them through, Crichton with a big year to go before he goes off to rugby. Teddy doing what Teddy has. He just won the Dally M. You got Walker coming off a full season who doesn't play Origin, so he's going to play over the Origin period. This is a hard one. I really found this hard, but I'm just going to go Teddy. I can't not go past the reigning Dally M winner.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. And how I came up with this one, I thought about different scenarios. I thought about what we're spoken as obviously the big talking point for the Roosters. I've thought about if the halves actually flourish and it works well, I just think that makes Teddy an even better player. If anything, it just makes his job even easier, and it just allows him to be his natural just ball running sort of fullback, which is perfect. If it doesn't work out, which could potentially happen as well, he's also now shown that he can be that senior leading figure who can adapt to that style of player now and actually do it quite comfortably, which 24 or so months ago, it was a huge worry for Tedesco, but he's actually learned how to play that. So I just feel like whatever happens this year with the Roosters, the one thing I think we're all confident in and know what will happen is by the end of this year, we know that Tedesco will finish the year having an 8 or 9 out of 10 season.
Yep.
So that for me is the reason why I
would much rather be incredibly wrong and say that Teddy's going to have another Dally M year than predict that he's going to fall off a cliff. I just don't want to do it.
I can't see it. I just cannot see it happening. Let us know in the comments what you think about the Roosters, guys. Your player of the year and your prediction finish for Sydney City Roosters. Manly Sea Eagles. So Manly last year finished 10th. So a season that there was so much happening off the field, obviously the DCE fiasco, all that sort of thing. Plus on the field, some injuries, just not clicking, a forward pack that was completely depleted, derailed, just no go forward whatsoever. Losing their star back row for periods of time didn't help things either. So there were so many bad things that happened. They didn't help themselves. The coach seemed to have run out of ideas also. But I guess from a pro's point of view, I try and think about a few things. And straight off the bat, I'll just pre-warn people that neither of us are very big on Manly this year. Nope. And there's reasons why. And throughout this, guys, we're not going to just drag things out for the sake of it. If there's teams where we're not that big on them, unfortunately, there'll be a lot more cons than pros. It's just going to be natural. I'm not going to be one of those podcasts that just drag things out and say things for the sake of it. So my pro is also a con in a way because my big one is Turbo and no DCE. Straight away, I'll look at Turbo and go, all right, sweet. He gets more involved. That's perfect. He's still at prime age, things like that. But then I go, hang on, let's think reality of this situation. And Turbo getting more involved isn't actually a very good thing because his body can't handle getting more involved. So, yes, we all sit there and go, how good's this? A more involved Turbo, awesome. You go back to, 2021, where he just was sensational. We're getting that again. Unfortunately, I don't know if that can ever happen again. I don't think he can be that consistent guy on the field. It's a huge concern for me, Trav, because then they're not in a bad spot in terms of if he does go down, because I love Cooler. I love him as a player. I want to see him at fullback. I want to see him flourish there. So I don't think it's the end of the world if they lose Turbo. But without DCE, without that extra experience, we all know Turbo's big thing at the moment is his talk in D and how he manages things and stuff like that. If they lose him for a period of time with how things are looking at that club at the moment, it is huge warning signs.
Yeah, look, I'm quite nervous about this one and doing this team because I just know that Manly fans are just going to absolutely hammer us.
There's a few close fans that love the page. So.
However, there is one person who's our only girl in our 60-man draft team for our Supercoach League that we run, who I talk to quite often, lovely lady, and she's very realistic. And even she's telling me that they're a bottom 4 team based off what's going on. Okay. So, it's not just us. And if I'm going to sit there and go Turbo in what you're saying, a more involved Turbo should mean he's going to win a Dally M. A more involved Turbo is probably going to end up winning you one of the best, not winning, but putting together one of the best years that we've seen, like he did a few years ago. But you are 100% right. His body just can't do it. It literally can't. They put him in the centers last year to try and get him to survive. They just cannot do it. But here's his kicker. I don't think they bloody put Cooler, who's probably their best fullback, in fullback if he goes out. They'll keep him out there, out on the edge. They'll keep. It'll be Hopewadi. Because that's what they did last year. I think that's what they'll do. And this leads simply to the fact that I just don't rate Seabold as a coach. He's got no record that's proven that he can do anything. And so therefore, yeah, I think the move around with Turbo is just going to absolutely be a massive con for them. And it's going to kill them. Like if Turbo doesn't play, the Manly Sea Eagles are in big trouble.
They are. And the one thing that does excite me from a Manly point of view is their back line. I think there's potential to be a really good. Unfortunately, that's hurt because I think their forward pack is going to really struggle. So they're not going to get the freedom that some Manly sides in the past have been able to have. I would have loved to have seen that with Turbo in centre. I would have loved to him just to pull the trigger this year and go, you know what, it's preseason. Let's do what South are doing effectively this year, and let's just make the call. Let's just do it. It's a good way to try and keep and extend Cooler as well. To then he's got fullback money. He's the fullback. He knows that moving forward. You got Turbo in the centres, which he's likely to play a lot more as well. the back line excites me. I then go, I'm worried because I just don't know if they'll get the time and the space that they need to execute. Because if they can get even half of what they need, they'll tear some teams apart on the edges.
If the forward pack can get them up the field, even to at least halfway, the speed of Saab, the speed and strength of Kula, the speed and nous of Hopewadi, the work that Garrick puts in, like that's an elite four. Like that's one of the better edges or both backlines in the competition, almost. So yeah, I just don't see them getting up there, and you can't rely on Saab and these boys running 70-meter tries up the edge off their speed every single game. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And you speak about the coach Anthony Seibold. Like we've got all these concerns at the moment. If it was a Bennett, if it was a Bellamy, if it was a Maguire there, you'd be able to sit there and go, you know what, they don't quite have the forward pack, but we just know these coaches could coach around this, and they'd make something happen. And instead of being a bottom 14, they'd be able to get him in that fight for the 8th throughout the year. They'd just get players up. But with a coach who, I'm sorry to be as blunt and as harsh, but we pride ourselves on this page for doing this, I'm surprised he still has a job in the NRL and continues to be spoken about for extensions or being interested or trying to go for coaching director jobs and stuff like that, because everything I've seen from this guy suggests to me that he's a part coach at best. He just, it doesn't fill me with, I'm sorry, Manly fans. I just don't have any hope at all this year for this team, especially with this happening. And like even little things like you announced Turbo captain this year, which is a really big thing. You did it in a car park. You did it in a car park where basically people are having their morning takeaway coffees. That's a big, like every other club I've seen make these announcements and stuff, it's in the club facilities. It's there having a boardroom meeting and everyone's up and they cheer and stuff like that. It was basically like he had just woken up hungover or something and gone, oh shit, by the way, boys, I'm just going to spring this one on you. Turbo's a new captain. Don't worry about his brother that I've just dropped. Turbo's now the captain. So much at the moment screaming to me, and yeah,
it's such a shame because there's so many good players on this list that I like. I like Hopewadi, I like Saab, I love the Turbo boys, I love Cooler, I like Garrick. We haven't even spoken about Fogarty, and I said he should have been an Origin player last year. I'm a big fan of Ola Kawatu and think he's one of the better edges in the edge back rows in the competition. I think Kobe Hetherington was a good signing. I think Bullimore is incredibly underrated. There's just some names on this list that's really good. But last year, they were 9th for points, 9th for tries. They were 15th in the comp for tackle breaks, 11th for post-contact meters, 10th for run meters. Like, I think it's only going to get worse with the team that they've got. And what do I blame it on? On a team that was better last year? That has to go down to the coach. It cannot be personnel. It cannot be that because the personnel was there last year and it's not as much this year. It has to be. And it dumbfounds me that he's still there. I don't know who they'd get either. Like, I don't know who can fix it. And their organization's not running well. Like you touched on it there, like with what they did with DCE and the debacle then, and then they go and announce Turbo, who's their favorite son, the way that they did. Unfortunately, I hope it's not as bleak as the way I talk. I really do. I hope it's not.
Fogarty, it's I've been a massive Jamal Fogarty fan, and I think it's a good replacement, obviously, for DCE for Manly, and to have that organisational guy. But he failed last year in the big moments. He failed at the time of year you want your star halfback to ice, and his nerves were that of a 19-year-old coming up, and his first season he's been asked to kick a sideline conversion to win his team the grand final. It just felt like he was not quite ready for what needed to happen, which was a real shame. And then I add to this mix a 5'8" who I was so high on this signing when it happened. For him personally, I thought, good, get away from the West Tigers and the crap. Finally, you can be this guy that just chimes in whenever you need to. Turbo and DC lead the way. This year it'd be Fogarty and Turbo lead the way. You can do whatever you want, but he has been a passenger in the worst way possible since basically being there. He's had that Vegas game where he basically shined and everyone's like, how good is this? We got that Brooks back. And since it's just been, why would you bother signing this player? Like, you're almost better just to have Walsh in there and bring him through. But it's just been a nothing signing so far.
You can't deny what Fogarty did, and how he did fail in those big key moments. But I've been an advocate for Fogarty in terms of he hasn't had. You have to fail before you can succeed, right?
Yeah.
And before that, what opportunities did Fogarty have to succeed? Like the Raiders weren't making finals, or weren't pushing deep, weren't having those moments coming from the Titans, and they didn't do much. Like, so where did he have that experience? He didn't get it. He's now got it. So Fogarty's got the experience. I think Fogarty is elite. I think he's a very, very good halfback. Is he in the top echelon? No, but he's not going to be anywhere near your middle. And I think there's a big gap between your top 5 and anyone else.
Yeah.
And Fogarty's in that top 5. But then I also think the top 3 are far and above.
Yeah.
He's a great kicker. He's a good runner. He's a good game reader, and he's an even better kick for goal for conversions. So I think that's great. My problem that I've got with Fogarty this year is that Fogarty was able to do what he did last year because that Raiders team was unreal, and his half partner in Strange blew the competition out of the water. And so he knew, all I've got to do is just get this ball to the speedster, and Strange is going to go down that side, and Weeks is going to go down the other side. And then I've got Papali and I've got Tarpany just pushing lines,
He's
right?
Nothing like that.
He doesn't have that this year. I think Fogarty will still be exactly the same. The problem is that people are going to give Fogarty negativity because that team's not winning, and it won't be because of him. And it'll be because of that half partner as well.
We'll get Gold Coast Titans Fogarty, where we knew there was a good player there, but unfortunately, because of what was around him at the time, we weren't able to see. And then once he got to the Raiders, everyone was like, why the hell did the Titans let him go? Things like that. And you just realise it's a lot about who's around players. Predicted finish for Manly Sea Eagles. Trav, what have you locked them in for?
Sorry, just let me unlock my phone so I can pull it up. It is... I've got them 13th on my ladder.
Yep. I've got them 14th. I think after what we've all just said, it is valid, and we don't really need to give too many reasons either. Player of the year. I've gone a little bit of a smoky here, a little bit of a different one. Taniela Paseka. I know he's coming back, big injury. We're saying at the moment their forwards are just completely depleted. I've come at this from a point of view where obviously player of the year is a standout, a success story of the year.
Yep.
In a season that I think Manly are going to struggle, in a season that we're saying their forwards really just, they need something. I think if Paseka get his body right, he's looking like a machine at the moment. He looks so fit, so big. If he can go on the field and do what we know he can do consistently, I think he'll come out of this potentially their best player. And I think a lot of clubs, they love these style of players as well, who just will come and show up each week, give them a 7, 8 out of 10 platform each and every week. So I've gone Paseka. Love
that pick. I found it really hard to go between these two guys because these are two of some of my favorite players in the competition. But if the first one was Ola Kawatu, if he stays healthy, he's an elite back rower in our comp, and I just really want to see him play because he is so good. But I've gone player of the year Cooler because I'm a big fan of his as well. He's so underrated. He's so fast. He's got such good ball skills. He can score tries from anywhere, and he can play a lot of the positions. I really like him. I've gone him.
Yeah, I absolutely love that one as well. Even what would go into his favour as well if they end up pulling the trigger at some point this year, and he does spend a lot of the chunk of the season at fullback, would be awesome to see.
Yep.
Let's go on to the Gold Coast Titans. So obviously the Gold Coast Titans last year finished 16th, which was actually equal last. They missed out on last place by 101 differential points. So they just did not have a good season. I think majority of the last season actually spent at last. So it's just a consistent struggle. The Gold Coast Titans, I find, Trav, is a very interesting talking point this year. And it's not necessarily for this year either. I think it's because being blunt, they'll struggle this year. They'll struggle a lot. But I think what they'll be doing is so much positivity and so much things that would be positive for the future, which I know Gold Coast Titans right now will probably go, I do not want to hear that again. This is now about 7 seasons straight. We've heard this. It's a joke. But I think for once, they've finally got people with the right plans in place that will do the right things for this club. Unfortunately, I just think it's a freaking hell of a job, and it's going to take a lot longer than 12 months to fix.
But it's so unbelievable that we say this, because on paper the list has been so good for so long. Like, they've just had players all over the park that would happily be and fit in so many other teams. But it's just a basket case of an organization. It's been a basket case of a coach that's just been unable to manage those people. And they're in the Gold Coast, who sit there and the players have gone into that culture of party boy. Gold Coast, sweet. I can go and sit on the beach. I can earn my hundreds of thousands, and I can just turn up and play. They've got so many good young players. I am so ridiculously high on Keanu Keeney, and I want one of his jerseys. I'm a big fan of De Groot and think he's a good winger coming through. I like Figai. I like Sammy. Sammy's underrated. I'm a big fan of JC. I think Mofo, if he can get back to an Origin player, is a really good. He's a good prop. Verrills is a good hooker. Tino, obviously. Bo Fumo, you've got him in your top 5 as edge back rowers. Chris Randall is just a meat and potatoes guy that just goes about things. Like, I've just gone through that list, and yet that's a team that pretty much finished on the bottom of the ladder last year, and we all predict we'll do it again. But I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. Fans, as long as they see these guys performing each week, if they finish on the bottom of the ladder, you should be really positive about it, because you've got a very good coach.
Yes.
A coach that I wish I would have as a successor to Bellamy as a Storm fan. And you've got some very good players. Plus, then you've got the likes of Johns, and who else? Gordon Tallis went there. And then they've gone into the junior program and said, no, we're sick of seeing all these guys go and leave us. Yeah. And so they've fit into that. Their organization outside of the team has taken a massive leap forward. So
the Frizzels have taken basically complete control now,
as everyone's hoping for.
It's a one
that's
club,
right.
basically.
And that's what everyone wanted, and that's what they needed to do. And as soon as that starts to go, because you can only go so far on the park without stopping, and the organization is what stops you. Yeah. Right, you can only go so far as what the organization puts you around you. They've got a great training facility. Yeah. They're in a good position. They've got great weather. Like it's the world's their oyster. It's just about getting that together. I'm very high on the Titans in terms of seeing improvement, but you summed it up really well.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what Josh Hannah can do. I think Josh Hannah is exactly what this club needs, and I'm not just saying side. I'm saying club, because from on the field, the players to all the backroom staff, they need Josh Hannah. They need a guy that comes in and goes, let's play some modern rugby league. Let's actually get involved with the community. Let's involve and have some fun with the community. Let's go out there. And I think Josh Hannah is going to be a guy who, he knows defense is important. He knows you need to be a football team that can do both. But I think he's a realistic coach. I think he'll actually look at things and go, deep down, if I had a private conversation with someone and they asked me honestly what will happen this year, I think we'll struggle. But you know what I'm going to say to them? Come to the games and watch us, because we're going to entertain. We're going to actually make sure we've got some highlight moments, and there'll be some games where we'll win that game 36 points to 30. There'll also be some games where we're probably going to lose 50 points to 10. It's just going to happen this year, but we're going to do things, and we're going to become the Gold Coast Titans. We're going to have this identity about things, and the culture is going to be there, because people keep saying get rid of the Titans, and I get what they're saying and I get where they're coming from. But if we're being fair, we need the Gold Coast Titans. The Rugby League need the Gold Coast Titans. The NRL needs them to flourish, because they've got some of the best schools in Australia for Rugby League here on the Gold Coast. They've got some of the best junior clubs and feeder clubs, things like that, on the Gold Coast. So you need to have that identity here. And we're seeing with obviously Cross Codes and other codes who are starting to get some wins, and that it's starting to work, and the stadiums start to sell out and things like that. There is room for it. Like, people are wanting successful sporting clubs on the Gold Coast. It's not about they don't want it. They do. It's just about the players being fair income and professional about it, and saying, we're here to play football first and foremost. And I wonder how good it can be if you're actually here on the Gold Coast playing football. You put your arse on the line. You're putting it all out there. You're getting some wins on the board. And then imagine if you go out or something and how good it would be. Like, the community would be loving you. The community would idolize you. To be there having a beer or two on the beach. Then we go on, Tino, how good's this? How good's things going? Not like now where everyone's going, what are you doing out? We just lost 6 in a row. What are you doing out? Like, what's going on here? Like, the priority. And I just think that's where Josh Hannah will come into. He'll go, boys, you know what? I actually feel like going for a drink as well, but let's get this win. Let's win and earn the right to go out for that drink. And he won't hide from it, which I love. So that doesn't necessarily help this year again. I get that. But I just think in the long term, when you've got players, as you mentioned, like your Brimsons, your Campbells, your Keeneys, some of the best attacking players in the comp with Tino, and he's just basically the guy who's just going to sit there and make sure things are sort of happening. My worry when we start to turn to that is after those guys, you see the drop-off. There is a bit of a drop-off there after you go that first sort of nucleus of first-grade players, and they're going to rely on a number of those. We've already seen some leaked mail and things like how things are shaping, and there's already like 3 or 4 debutants potentially for round 1. It has to happen, but for when you're talking success and looking at this year, it's not ideal for a team that's just come last, and it doesn't necessarily fill you with confidence that things will happen.
No, I don't think they're going to win games or too many games. I think there's going to be massive improvement. I think you're right. The culture needs to be set, and Hannah was the perfect person for that. And if I'm going to link the two and compare, one of the things that Riles went in and did really well was coach this team and say, here's our culture and here's what it, but he didn't have to go about the organization and stuff like that. It was pretty good. There was obviously improvement that needed to be done, but Gold Coast were a basket case. I don't think Riles could have gone to the Gold Coast and done what he did with Para. Whereas I think Hannah can go to the Gold Coast, do what Riles did on the field, but then improve the off-field stuff as well. And Hannah is just that perfect guy because of the origin background and everything that he's got. Yeah, and you've said it really, really well. And the thing is, the Titans, I actually agree. This is a playground for rugby league talent. And one of the things on the Gold Coast that's huge is Islanders. There's so many they're down there, and they love it, and they froth off rugby league. That's a untapped playground that they can get into that they haven't dealt with very well, and they need to keep going, and particularly now. Yes. Because there's an AFL team that just made finals that won their first team that are selling out stadiums, and they're in schools, and they are going out after a win and getting flocked at. They have to, and we want them to. So good luck.
Yeah. Finally, as well, when we talk like DNA and we talk about teams, and unfortunately, the Titans, the club DNA is losing. That's what they're used to. It's sort of, in a way, it feels like it's become acceptable. It's like, okay, we've lost, move on. We saw some of those reactions last year in the sheds where some of the players almost just wanted to act like everything was sweet, just move on. And Des finally got to the point where probably the best thing he's ever done for that club, and actually just said to him, get the hell out of here and let's talk about this. And that was perfect in my eyes. That DNA, this culture shock, it needs to stop. And the way that happens is pre-seasons. It's massive because you have those little games and stuff like that where some clubs, like I'm guessing the Titans of old, they'd probably have these games and a player would make a mistake and they'd probably be laughed at. They'd be like, oh, it's all good. We'll fix that for game day. It's all good. No, you go back and you do that again. We're doing that again until you get it right type thing. Like this DNA starts now. And I just think, again, Josh Hannah, that new age coach, the way things are happening and the feel, and it comes at the back of players like Tino who have been in amongst Queensland origin camps, Australian camps and stuff like that, and they'll go, that's not how we do it anymore. We're a football club. We're an NRL club. You don't just go, okay, knock on, yeah, sweet, let's just move on. We fix it. We get this DNA now that we're winners. You celebrate the little wins. Any win, whatever it is, you celebrate it. They need to become and fix, which it's not easy. It's not an easy fix. It takes time. Everything's going to take time for the Titans, unfortunately. But turning this DNA around from the start is just a must.
Yeah, you've summed it up really well. I think obviously we're not really talking too much X's and O's and stats. Statistically, last year it was one of the worst. We don't need to. We know what it's going to happen, and we're pretty sure that it's going to be a little bit better, maybe similar. Yeah. All we're asking for and all we want to see is these guys putting their ass on the line every single week and playing well. That's all we want to see. Well, I don't want to see them go up and say, oh, we lost. Oh, yeah, but we scored 40. It's like, well, that's not good enough anymore.
You lost.
Yeah, you lost, right? We didn't lose pretty. You lost. And let's not accept that. Let's not accept mediocrity. I'm a big fan of the Titans and what they're doing now. I don't predict great things this year in terms of a ladder stuff, but I do think that they're going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
I do think they're going to be fun to watch. I do question their depth, and you're right. Like you're asking about, that top echelon, and then under that in their playing squad is not great, but then even further, their depth is not good at all.
Yeah.
So look, that's probably where it's going to be a problem. If they stay healthy, they might win a few extra games than we predict, but it's rugby league. There are injuries, things happen. It's, now day and age, concussions and stuff like that is more around. It's going to happen, and that's where they're going to have problems.
And that's why, for me, unfortunately, when it gets to the predicted finish side of things, I'm realistic about it. I say 17th, and that's the realistic factor because we just said it. Like the squad just isn't quite where it should be at the moment for a 27-week NRL competition. The depth's not there. It will be there probably in the next 24 months, but we're talking this year, it's just not quite there. So I'm a bit worried as soon as a couple of these big guys, which it's going to happen at some point, they'll get an injury or two and they'll be out for a couple of weeks, Origin and things like that. They'll try and make sure Tino's can get out of that and keep going type thing. But I just think there'll be times where they needed to call up some of these guys to come through and they're just not quite there already. It's going to take them some time. So I just think realistically, I think unfortunately 17th, they didn't pick up the wooden spoon this year, but I think this year will be the year they do pick up that wooden spoon.
Yeah, I've got them at 14th, but I think there's a bit of strife, and I really hope that by their round 8 bye, when I think they don't have any wins, because they got the Sharks, they got the Dolphins, they got to go up to Queensland, up to North Queensland, and they got the Dragons at home. Might be their win, and then one win out of this entire first 8. Broncos, Para, was. I really hope that they play well, and the media and everyone's not absolutely dragging their ass along the gravel, because if they are playing well and are only one win, maybe no wins, that's a good thing. But if they're not playing well and they get to that, oh man, it's really bad, because moving forward from then they play the Raiders, then they got the Roosters. I've got them at 14th.
What about your player of the year?
I think this is a simple one. Tino.
Ooh, okay. Yep. I don't think you need to explain that either. I think everyone knows exactly why you're saying Tino, and hopefully he's there in years to come for the Gold Coast Titans' sake.
No, I don't.
Yes, we know why you're saying that anyway. For mine, I actually on Keanu Keeney coming back from a massive injury. I think plenty have forgotten just how good this guy is, and like I'm saying, I think they'll be one of those sides this year where they're obviously not a defensive juggernaut at all. They're not going to have a season average of keeping the team to 18 points at an average or anything like that.
Can't go from the worst team last year and make it too much better.
They won't. So I just think Keeney might come into his element. There'll be a bit of an attacking showcase, and that just suits Keanu Keeney down to a T. World Cup year coming up. He'll want to be that number one for the Kiwis as well. So that little bit of extra motivation. I've got Keanu Keeney as my player of the year.
Love that. One of my favourites.
Cronulla Sharks. So the Cronulla Sharks finished 5th last year and then made it all the way through. Unfortunately, got knocked out in the grand final qualifier to the Melbourne Storm in a game where they had plenty of chances to actually win that. And I know we've had plenty of conversations in the post-mortem of that, and you were very worried as a Storm fan, and many were, because there were some times where they probably would look back on that and thought they should have iced that game, and they didn't. So the Cronulla Sharks are a very interesting talking point, Trav. I listened to a few things now. I've read a few things, thought about a few things myself, and putting things into everything and what we're doing at the moment in this preseason content game. And there's so many avenues and storylines you can go down with the Cronulla Sharks. There's so many, and you can take them and run positive, negatively, whatever way you really want to. And everything I feel like is so valid. It's just it's a side that's so up in the air for me at the moment heading into this year.
It is for me too. And I look at that list and think they should be a lot better and should have performed a lot better than they have. I put out a bold prediction that they don't make the finals, and got absolutely hounded. Holy moly, the C word and all sorts of mental issues and disabilities and everything that came through for it. But I don't think most of those conversations would have been said if they hadn't have won that, if they had a loss to that game against the Roosters. If they lose that first final against the Roosters, because I truly feel they didn't play that well. They only lost and it was a close game. They only lost because the Roosters lost the game. Then they go to Canberra, right? And everyone's going to say, oh yeah, but they went to the Raiders and beat them. The Raiders
were shot.
They were done. Like they did everything to get to that point and almost won that game still, right? And the Sharks got away with it. And they played well to win that game, and credit to them. They got to the final four, but, they did that. Then they go to the Storm, and the Sharks were the Sharks of what we thought they would do for most of the year, and the Storm did what they had to do to get the win. And you're right, we were a bit worried about things, but that's what they did. They're going into the same list. They've taken the same list with the same coach, with the same problems. Yeah. I get that there's a good draw, but I'm telling you now, like we've put Manly at the bottom. They're not going to win many games, in our opinion, but they're not going to be an easy beat. We've put Titans at the bottom. They're not going to win many games, but they're not going to be an easy beat. I've got two other teams underneath them who I still don't think, in the Dragons and another one, who are going to be easy beats. There's no easy games this year. There is none. And if the Sharks continue to keep doing what they're doing, I don't care about the easy draw. A bold prediction is that I don't think they make the 8. I can't foresee. I don't like the Trindle-Hines combination. I'm a massive fan of Blake Braley. Love him. But, there's only so much he can do. I'm a huge fan of AFB. But when you've got a Mulatalo out, you've got a Kennedy still playing fullback, you've still got that coach who I actually think's a good coach. I just don't think he's in the right position, in the right team. And to be honest, I'd have him at the Storm. I think he's a good coach. I just don't think he's in there, and I don't think he can make the bold decisions. Whereas a Storm team, he doesn't need to make those bold positions because the team's loaded. It's where it's at. He doesn't need to. But for that Sharks team, he has to. There has to be, like, we're predicting Dolphins to improve and all these teams to come up and be better. Someone's got to drop out. I'm just saying the Sharks are going to.
To help what you're saying out here to be very relevant, I think there's from 5th to about 12th this year.
It's so close.
I think all those teams you could literally chuck in a randomizer and bring them out and do it 20 times. You come up with different orders every single time, and you look at it and go, I can see that happening. Like every single time. Like it's so close there. And I think it'll be like an injury or two that will separate all these sides at crucial times. And Sharks are just one of those teams in there where I don't think any valid, not one-eyed sort of Cronulla Sharks supporter could see that there is a season where they could be a top 4 side. If things go right, they can definitely be a top 4 side. The draw's great, like you said. They've got good enough players in key positions. They can be that. There's also very valid reasons why they could slip. There's a lot of good teams that are improving around them. And there's that argument that, again, they're coming into a year where, apart from last year where they added Fanua Blake, for like 3 years now, they've really not added anything. They've just continued to go in with these squads, which, yes, they're good quality first graders. They're good, solid sides, and plenty of their fans go, we've been a consistent finals team. Any team would love that, which for sure. But I think there comes a time where a club has to say to themselves, do we want to just keep being a consistent finals football team, or do we want to be a team that's actually like a proper finals contender? Because I don't think they've been a proper finals contender for a while now. Yes, you've been consistently in the top 8, but they're a side that I don't think many teams would be scared of versing in the finals at all. Like, if anything, they'd sit there after finishing, say, in the top 4 and go, man, if we get beat this first week, I'd love to play the Sharks next week.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I'd love it. So,
especially this year with the way that the teams are looking and the draws and all sorts of things, I'd be looking at going, come the crunch time, if I can play them in the last 6, an elimination final or whatever, I'm pretty happy. Yeah. Like I like the Sharks. I had them in premiership favourites, well, not favourites, but in that echelon last year. I had them in the top 4. And one of the reasons why I don't have them this year is exactly what you said, is because I feel like they're beating a dead horse. Like they're going in with the same team, if not a few big injuries. Mulatalo's a lifeblood of that team. McInnes is a lifeblood. He's going to come back. The dude's a tank. Like, he's going to come back, but he's missing 7 odd games. Like, what does that do? Nikora has shown regression. Like the Nico Hines and Trindle thing. Like and then you've got the way that team plays, how important a good running fullback would be. And then they're still biting into this Kennedy train. Like, it's just, the reason why I've got them down is because they continue to keep beating a dead horse. And how long can you do that before it just doesn't work for you?
Until that horse doesn't get up anymore and they go, we are literally done. Yeah. Stop whacking me.
I will say, though, like, you look at that list, it is top 4. It is. But It's the same.
The slight change that's happened at the Sharks over the last 6 months is Blake Brayley.
Yep.
And it's the reason why, for me, I can see them being a top 8 side still. I think they're going to be quite consistent and can beat some sides and get enough wins, because he's added a different element to this side now. They were a side that was struggling for so long. This halves pairing, which is consistently a talking point each and every week, each and every season, just butting heads consistently is a huge issue. But Blake Brayley actually helped fix this, because he started to run a bit. He developed this attacking game, which came out of nowhere. Like it was just one game last year where all of a sudden he just got out of dummy half like 4 or 5 times in that game, opened the middle up completely, and all of a sudden Nicho Hynes and Trindle are playing on the front foot, and we're going, how bloody good is this? Like, this is a Cronulla. Who is this? This is not the Cronulla Sharks. Like, he completely changed and then all of a sudden Aiden Fanua-Blake's running and scoring a try and marching over the event. Like, it just opened up everything completely. So if they can go in, and yes, the element of surprise for that won't quite be there this year, because there'll be so many more teams now that will literally spend half of their video sessions on Blake Brayley because he's that damn good now. That will be something they'll have to fix, but it just opens them up now slightly to help, because both halves, their best version of their game is their running game. They need to be running the football first and foremost, and then think to pass. And I'm not saying run the football every time they get the ball, but get the ball, run a few steps, make the defensive line think you're going to take them on, and then you can pass out the back just to engage in that defensive line. They need to be doing that, where before Blake started doing this, they weren't doing that. So this helps them attract that and make the defensive line. Now they start to question things, which is what you want the defensive line to be doing.
Yeah, the modern day hooker now has to have an element of running, pick the ball up, quick play of the ball, run 5 meters, engage the line, not take a hit because they're so little, but not take that hit, engage the line, drag them up a bit, and then make that quick ball, right? And then move it out. Trindle and Hynes need that. They have to have that hooker do that for them, because Trindle and Hynes are not playmakers. They're not that ball playing, mate, cut out 2 guys, pass out to the wing type. They might do it every now and then, but they also don't do it, or they fail at it and it becomes an error. They're not that. They are runners. And then they are engaged. They run, engage, draw the guy. Then they'll make a good decision once they've drawn out and make that free pass. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Now that they're good at it, but they that's why they clash together. And I think Blake Brayley is an absolute stud. And all the talk about it was that he was like that when he was a junior. He was a runner. He used to do that. And it was only that the Sharks held him back. And then you're right, that one game where he just blew everyone off the park and off they went. And that's why they went and won all those games they won at the end of the year, and why they did what they did off the back of him. If they do that again and teams allow him to do that, AFB is going to go another level up. Yeah. And again, that's a top 8 team. It's just whether they do it and what the team around them does it.
Nicho Hynes, Trav. So he currently signed a 5-year deal in 2023. So he's at Cronulla until the end of 2029. So there's still a couple of years left on this contract, which is basically $1 million plus contract. There's been
Only
non-stop...
a little bit of money.
Yeah, just a little bit of money. And there's been constant issues in the halves. We've continued to say this. Now, I'm going to take Trindle out of this conversation just because he's on obviously a bit less. I think he's doing his part. He's doing it quite well. My question is on Hynes and just management from him from a Fitzy point of view, the coach, what he's going to do here and what calls he's going to make, and from Nicho himself. There's been a long time now where we've felt I think most rugby league fans have felt for Nicho, because obviously the origin situations, how he came out of that for a few years there, and he couldn't deal with it mentally. And we all know how big that is in this day and age, and protecting players and things like that. I now get to it to a point of view where I go, okay, it's been a couple of years since all that. He's done so much work and he's done everything. We also sort of need to talk about the player himself and what he can do. And once again last year, unfortunately, in these big games where teams were there to be beaten and to be taken, it was, again, a Nicho that didn't pull triggers. It was a Nicho that wasn't ready to go. And this is a massive year for Nicho Hynes, because this is now this will be the end of 2026. He'll still have 2 or 3 years maybe left on that deal. $1 million plus for the Sharks. They've got big bickies in him. And if this is a guy that consistently isn't getting you you're paying big money for these guys to get you those wins in those big games. If this is going to be now the third or fourth season where you can't do that, I'm sorry, we've got to start taking some things away. You've got to, as a club, go, do we start to have a conversation? There's some new teams coming around that will probably give you the same sort of money as well. So your future in that, you can look after it. But for us, we'd rather go out in the market while there's potentially some other guys available who can get us those victories and make things happen, or maybe spend a little bit less and get maybe like that Foggy style who can do things, but then we can go and spend money elsewhere on maybe a winger or something, whatever they choose to do. But I think it's a massive year for Nicho Hynes. It is huge.
It's enormous. It is. I'll touch on a couple of things. I'd love to sit down and do the stats, and I might do that over the next few weeks, around when Hynes is the best on field, how many games they've won. Because I feel like last year there was at least 3 games that he was best on field, where he was that runner, the ball was in his hands, and they won. And there was 3 very key games that I can just think of straight off the top of my head. And so I think the recipe is that. It has to be. Trindle has to be the one that takes a massive step back. And the recipe is play off Brayley, and Hynes has got to get best on ground every single game. And if he does, they're good. I don't think Hynes is a fullback anymore, and I'm not going to start that conversation. Last year, 100% put him there, but I can't see. He's just got to be there now. He can't be that fullback. He's not quick enough. It's just too much on his body that they have to rely on for them. So I don't want to play that argument anymore. And there's been people that have done that and are still saying that. I get it. I said it less than 3 months ago. But I'm not going to go there anymore. This is enormous, and everything has to ride on him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's at the stage now where I don't think he's the guy play to play. So that's why I don't think he's a halfback. But I think he's got enough to still be one of the guys. That's why I think 5'8" would be perfect. So, but I just don't think they can have a 5'8" on 1.1 or so for the next few years, and maybe
not unless he's getting those men on the match.
Like you can handle a Munster being on that because he gets it done. He just doesn't give a crap.
But he gets man of the match.
Yeah,
right. Munster does those, and those big key games, like when it is those Penrith games, Munster steps up and they win it. Hynes doesn't do that enough. Yes. Munster's been doing it for a long time. We want Hynes to do that. We think he's got the talent to do that, and then he is warranted 1.1 mil. Yes. But until then.
Predicted finish. So you've got him just outside the 8, Trav.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Look, my just a gut feel. As I said, this is just a pure gut feel because positively I can look through those lists and say, give me Kale Iro, give me a Mulatalo, give me AFB, give me Blake Brayley, give me Britton Nickera, give me Teague Wilton. I'll have Cam McInnes. Like I'll have all of them on my team. I will. Blake and Harry Grant, I might have an argument about, but you give me all those guys, right? This is a good list. It is. I just, again, like I've been saying how good this list has been for years now. They've been making top 4. Eventually it's going to regress and other teams keep going up. I've got them at 9th, can see them making the 8. Honestly, I can, but I'm not going to buy into this really easy draw. And the reason why is they play the Titans in round 1, where every team sits there going a whole preseason with that locked in, that round 1 game. Now it's at home, or it's a home game for the Sharks, but they've got Titans first game up. Then they got Penrith, then they got the Dolphins, then they got the Raiders, then they got the Wires, then they got the Roosters, and then they've got that round 7 bye. There's a world where they're 1-6, but there's also a world that they're 4-2-ish. Like I'm not buying into this really easy draw just yet. There's no easy draw. There's no easy games. They come off the bye and go to Queensland. They go up to Townsville. Like, yeah, I don't have a lot of hope for the Cowboys this year, but that's not an easy game to go and win, right? And then Tigers on an improve, Rabbits on an improve. Like by 10, I'm just not seeing it. So if I can see them making an 8, but I've got them at 9.
The start's going to be crucial for the Sharks. I've got him 7th, so I've got him just sneaking into that 8 and getting enough wins to get the job done. Player of the year, I've gone Blake Brayley. I just think he's going to continue on his form run. I also am predicting him, and it's already been out on the page by some of the other guys as well. New South Wales berth as well for him. So I just think he's going to have one of those massive years.
Yeah, look, for this part, I'll say his name right. Blake Brayley will be the Sharks player of the year, in my opinion. But it's tough competition with that list.
It very much is. All right, the Parramatta Eels. So last year, the Eels finished in a flourish to get themselves off near the bottom of the ladder up to 11th with some good, consistent wins towards the end of the year. Many have said they were basically the form team of the competition at the end of the year, but unfortunately, the competition goes for 27 weeks, not 6 weeks. So that was a shame there for Para fans, but some potential really bright sparks, and the Royals era really got off to a fly once things started to really settle down and he started to get things his way, started to get some of the players that he wanted, started to basically sweep out some of the players he didn't want as well. So I know, Trev, you've mentioned so far throughout this off-season, pre-season, things like that you're pretty interested in the Eels this year. You're really starting to like some of the things you're seeing.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I absolutely am. I think they're a team that makes the 8. That's one of the 2 that I've got moving up. There were so many concerns going into this year into 2025 on some of the players in terms of like who would be in your forwards, what edges would you run, how would those wingers go with an Addo Carr coming from the misery of what happened and that. You know, what's going to happen in the halves with Brown and Moses? Does Moses stay on the field? You got a new coach in a team, in an organization that even you have said you're not happy with the way it's been run and what's been going on. And then you've got this rookie fullback that came in that you just didn't know. And was it his spot or was it Papali'i's spot? And all of those questions that came through. Iongi's turned himself into probably wins a Dally M in his career, I reckon. At least going to be a Dally M fullback at some point. Moses showed that when he plays, he's one of the best, if not the best halfback in the competition. You go and sign Talon De Silva as a big money signing. So there's your future hooker going through. Jack Williams is elite. He's so good. And he's a leader. Katoga, it was unreal. Like Junior Paulo redid his career and it has become a big guy. Addo Carr has just come out of nowhere and did what he did last year and got himself an Aussie jersey. And then Riles and the culture of winning and the play style and what it is there. I'm so high on Para. I really am.
Yeah, I've got to say, this time last year, obviously where things are at, it was a concern for the club, and what the future was pretty bleak. To be fair, I think what's happened now is things are quite exciting in terms of. I'm not going to go all the way out there and just say outlandish things like we'll win the competition, things like that. But I think what's exciting, it seems like there's a plan now. Yep. It seems like there is a whole club and organisation that are all going as one, and they all have the same goals, and they're all realistic with it as well. It's not like they're all coming out there going, this year's the year we break the curse, stuff like that. Like they're actually just saying, no, this year's the year where we're actually going to play consistent football. This is the year where we're not going to be easy beats. This is the year where if things aren't happening for us, and it's happened a lot in the last few years, it feels like early on in games you can tell with Parramatta, if the first 10 minutes, if they feel like it's not clicking, all right, we're going to get beat by 40 today. Where last year it felt like even in those games, they just clung on. They said, you know what? We're probably going to lose this game today, but we're going to try our asses off. We're going to make sure we can't walk tomorrow, even if it's for an L, which I just love to see. I want to see a club and players who go out on that field every week to try their ass off and to put pride back in the jersey. It hasn't been a fantastic period post a grand final appearance where most fans came into the year after that hoping that was the year. It should have really been if they were fair income about things, and everything just went completely downhill. It's just good to now have a coach who has very clear plans, is very clear with what he does. He doesn't go away from it. He makes some extremely tough calls, but pretty much every call he's made so far, especially away from the field and for the roster, has just been spot on. There's been a couple of little tactical things in games where I think he's still learning, where I haven't quite been for it, but as I said, I think he's learning and he's adjusting to that on the run. But there's definitely a lot of bright sparks. Like you look at the squad and we talk about this depth. I think the forward pack depth especially is pretty enormous this year. There's going to be, especially let's say if round one's basically what we expect and everyone's fit, there's going to be legit 3 or 4 players who should be in first grade playing reserve grade, depending on what happens with this interchange, if they go to the 6 or whatever. But there could be 3 or 4 that lining up in New South Wales Cup, and you're like, what? What are they doing there? And that's just, we look at some of these best, we look at the clubs, we look at Penrith, we look at other clubs like that who over the years have had that. They've had just extremely strong New South Wales Cup sides where you're like, they're going to get picked apart. Like, they're going to have teams who just come and nab all these players. And it is a good spot to be because injuries happen in sport, especially in our game. And to have the fact that even if like a junior gets injured, the fact that we've now got DeBellin who can step up as that leader role. Hopgood seemed to start to show some decent signs towards the end of the year where we just had to play prop and just had to sort of think run first. And then if it was open, maybe promote the ball, things like that. But it wasn't an expectation for him. And then you have people like Moretti and Dury and Geimer who are waiting there. It's definitely a good feeling. And I think what Riles has made sure he's done with this forward pack is we're not the biggest, we're not the best forward pack out there, but we're quite a mobile pack now. We've got some guys who can go for the long run if required, and I like that. It suits the modern day style.
What do you want me to say? Because you said everything.
Move on.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
And if Hopgood can improve back to even slightly, somewhat his origin picking, because he was picked as to being like Hop Goat. There was a nickname called Hop Goat. Like he was ready to explode, and he regressed enormously. But he did have a really good year at the end of the year, and why? I think that was off the back of the fact that I think Riles just said, "Here's your role, like, and just do this. I'm not going to put you here. I don't want you to be that forward prop anymore. Like, this is your spot. I'm going to have it." Which puts DeBellin, who's I think a very good signing for you guys. Yeah, he might only have 1 or 2 years left of his career, so he's going to be not near as good. But that leadership and that big boy that you guys slightly need is going to be huge. We haven't even spoken about Dylan Walker. Like, what he did for you guys when he came as a he was the best mid-season signing last year, by far, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, probably the best signing of most in terms of importance and what he provided for you. Yeah. I still want to go back, and I'll segue in this, and I hope I don't annoy you here, Joel, but like, it will be off the back of whether Mitchell Moses stays on the field. Yeah. If he is on the field, all of that, cherry ripe. If he's not on the field, I think there's big trouble. And that's the problem, unfortunately. Yes. And I've said this a few times, and I'll say it again. There is not a team in the competition that's so reliant on one guy. There isn't. Like, when that guy drops away, teams still win games. I think Para, if he doesn't stay on the field, it's a very good conversation, and it's a very important conversation to have because his history says that he doesn't. If he stays on the park, he's the best player in the competition. You guys are pushing top 4, in my opinion. If he doesn't, it's a bad story, and I don't want to talk about it.
The positive in me says we're in the best position we've been so far to replace Moses in terms of Pezzett. Yeah. Because Pezzett's now shown he's a first-grade player. He's ready to go. I think he's also an organizational first-grade player as well, where he can take the lead and he can say, and he's completely happy to tell a forward pack, do this for me, lay this platform so I can do that. So I feel like we're in the strongest position we have been for a long time, and it also then means Joash Papali would just come up and play that 6 role and be a Pezzett Papali Haas combination, which I don't think is the worst position to be in at all, but it definitely is. It's completely valid, and I think it makes, like, I don't think Pezzett would then come in and just completely act as if no Moses is there. Like, without Moses, it's this huge hole. Yep. 100% is a huge hole. But I just think Pezzett potentially can put some plyboard over that gap, and we're hoping it's strong enough to hold. We might be able to hold a couple of bicycles to drive over it, but if you get that truck that comes along, it's probably going to break. It's not strong enough.
Man, that's a garbage analogy.
I'll try my best. But anyway.
But I like the point you're talking about. And I really do. And I think you're just sort of trying to, play it a bit safe with that analogy and what you're saying. And I get it. But it really is. I like Pezzett, but he came from the Storm. Yeah. I don't know. I don't foresee the talk from what I've seen of Pezzett in training and all sorts of things that he is this like team leading halfback. It's different. When he was the team leading halfback at the Storm, it was because he had to be on a pretty bloody good list, and so we had studs everywhere. And so it was easy for Jonah to do what he had to do. I don't foresee that. I don't think he's going to be a bad player by any means, but I don't think he's going to be this stud that everyone's talking about. So that when if Moses does fall out, and I'll say if because I hope he doesn't, but if Moses does fall out, I don't foresee Para doing very well. I think they'll do okay, but not very well with him leading that because I don't think he's that guy.
I think Pezza did get that man of the match in that finals game last year. Like he stood up and he was.
What was around him?
Yeah, he started to do it. He was still the standout.
Yeah, but what was
that
around
wasn't him
him? Like
sitting
you
back.
still
That
had
wasn't him
Munster
sitting back doing
and
it.
Grant and
to get man of the
Stefano
match
being one of the better props at the end of the year, and Pappy and Coates on the edge, and Warbrick returning, and Katoa, and it's different. It was different. But look, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope Moses plays because he's a very good player, and I really enjoy watching him. And I got them in the 8. The only reason why I've got them sort of where they are is because I think he does miss some games, but I still think they make the 8. Hopefully he doesn't miss too many.
I hope he plays as well. From my concerns around the Parramatta Eels are, firstly, a loss of 2 really good players. Like, we can't shy away from the fact that Dylan Brown didn't have, obviously, the best years and things like that. I think he's really missed playing alongside Mitchell Moses, and people forget how good that combination was for a while there. And he's, in my eyes, still is one of the best 5'8" in the game when he gets to play 5'8" with a natural game managing halfback. And Zach Lomax, and what he's the work that he has done out of the backfield, and the potential threat of him having that aerial threat, which is just defensively having to worry yourself. Creates different sorts of positions on the field where attack, you can either choose to kick the ball, you can then see someone's drop back so you can run the ball, things like that. Like it will create probably a little bit easier for opposition to defend. I think both are really big losses, and fans with, I guess, probably a little bit of hurt towards both players for different reasons, but we'll quickly realise that was the case. And the other thing I'm a bit cautious about, I spoke about this with the Broncos earlier, and I talk about players in top 5s and stuff like that. I look at Parramatta and I just don't see, apart from probably Moses, there's not much that are sitting in the top 4 or 5 in their position. And to be that really elite football side who can run with the best and run with the big dogs, basically, you need to have 3 or 4, potentially even 5 of those sorts of players in those positions. And there's some really good young players. There's potential for some of these guys to be that in the next 2 to 3 years with some consistency under their belt. I'm just a little bit worried that we don't quite have that yet.
Yeah, I get it. I see it. But there's some pretty bloody good players.
There is.
So, even if you're not top 5, if you got Moses and you're doing that, I think they're fine. I really do. I don't have too much of a problem on that. Lomax is a loss. Yeah. I agree. But for what he has done, I think the biggest loss that you're going to have is that if Moses doesn't play, who's that good kicker?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest loss because, look, Penasini, Russell, Simonson, those, they're not Lomax, but I don't think they're bad. Yeah. I don't think I think they've shown improvement. So I'm okay with that replacement. And Lomax is a great player. Yeah. You can't replace that. But yeah, I'm not too fussed by that loss. But yeah, again, if Moses doesn't play, who kicks? And that's important. Kicking is important nowadays. Yeah.
We'll see. Predicted finish for the Parramatta Eels. I've got him in 10th. I don't actually have him making the 8, unfortunately. Got a little bit of hesitation. Just some of those points that I spoke about might hurt us, and I just think, unfortunately, I'm losing faith in Moses' body to be able to play enough games to get us to the 8. I do agree, though, if he does play 20 out of the 24, I think we do make the 8, but I just don't see him doing it, unfortunately.
Jesus, if he plays 20 of the 24 and you don't have some major injuries, you're making the top 4, I reckon.
Tell us your predicted finish.
I've got him 8th, but I've got him 8th because obviously Moses will play Origin, and I think that he'll miss a few games, which stops them from winning enough to push up. So yeah, I've got him in 8th, but again, if Moses doesn't play, they were way away from the 8. But I think this year's the year. He plays enough to do that.
Yeah. What about your player of the year?
Moses.
Very valid. Very
I
relevant.
didn't have one down for this. This is one of those ones I was like, well, I'm not sure. And then I was just looking. I was going to wait till I see what I'd say in the conversation and who I was going to pick, because there's some good players here, I think. I think Addo Carr's a good shout-out for Player of the Year. I think Paulo's going to, if he does again what he did last year, I think he's a good shout. But you can't go past one of the best players in the comp.
Yeah. Could be juniors last year as well. That's one to note. That could drive this playing squad, because I know how much the club loves him and I know how much the club means to Junior as well. That could be a huge driving force this year, because I know the playing squad absolutely adores Junior. So depending on what happens this year, I know that I've heard a few things that said the start of last year, he basically was almost thinking last year may have been that last year, but he's actually really happy with how his body is at the moment. So who knows? He might go another year, but there's potential for this to be the last one. For me, my player of the year is Isaiah Aongi. I just think this kid's an absolute freak. I've got him going again this year to another level. I just think he's that good. I think Parramatta don't realise how lucky they are to have had this happen to them, to be able to make this signing when they did, to snap him up when they did. It was such a smart signing where I don't think many would have been out there looking at Aongi at the time that Riles and co did. It's like Riles got there and basically within that first week or two signed this kid. Like, he just knew what he must have seen something from a while ago. I cannot wait to see him. Hopefully he gets to play a lot more games with Moses as well. I think that'll be a key to this, to have him with that combination. I think Pezzett as well will help him, and just being able to float around off the back of both of those main playmakers controlling things, and then the forward pack, Walker and co coming off the bench. I think Aongi is in for a hell of a year, so I'm very keen to watch that one for sure. The Canberra Raiders. So the Canberra Raiders, unfortunately, last year, obviously, firstly, the positive, minor premiers, absolutely huge. We love minor premiers here. We think being first in this competition needs to be celebrated and applauded a lot more than it is. So that financially, everything. They should just benefit a lot more. So well done on the minor premiership. That's what, 19 wins, 5 losses. That's incredible. Unfortunately, though, they were bundled out in straight sets after a first week finals game against the Broncos, which completely broke their hearts. It was heartbreaking to watch from a neutral's point of view as well, to be fair, because they didn't deserve to go out in straight sets. It sucked, and it just felt like some of those fans of the game who were like sort of beating them down and going, oh, they're not that good, didn't look into some of the things they probably should be looking into, sort of got rewarded with a lazy take, in my opinion, because they weren't like that at all. So that, and then like you said, and very valid, they got to a Sharks game and they were a shell of themselves. They were just mentally and emotionally looked exhausted. Yeah. They were just hurting, plain and simple. It just was not quite there for them. But the season as a whole, mate, it was so good. And I think they come into this year where a lot of people are looking at those 2 games and a loss of Jamal Fogarty and saying, yeah, they're slipping here. They're slipping dramatically. Like, I've seen some say they're Gornskis. And I'm just looking at them going, you've got rocks in your head. I can't see this side, this club, going Gornsky at all. I think, if anything, reality kicks in. There might be just that team that's in that top 4 battle with that 4 of maybe 5 teams that are in that position. But I can't see him going too much further down than that, because you look at the young stars that get another year under their belt, especially Ethan Strange, who is just an out-and-out freak now and on the doorstep of becoming a great at this game at the moment, like a current informed great. You got a forward pack that's the best in the competition that will protect their 2. I guarantee you right now, they've had meetings already and they've sat there and said to Ricky Stewart, we will protect these 2 young halves no matter what. They will be literally our babies, and we will make sure they are not bullied one iota. And I'm telling you now, if I was an opposition forward pack, I'm looking at that pack and I'm going, I don't really want to get into this fight with you. Like, I'm going to try to get your halfback early, but I know if I've got Tarpany or Papali coming at me, I'm like, yeah, okay, I might just start to learn. Then you got Hudson Young, and then you've got the like there. So I just, at the moment, Trav, I can't sit there and think to myself that this team is going to drop and lose 10 wins of the season. I think they're right in there still.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
Like, man, statistically, they were in the top 8 or 8 and above in every statistic they could make, bar 1, which was errors, and that was 13th. So it wasn't even that bad. That's a young side
for you.
And that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But they were 4th in points, 4th tries, 5th goals, 8th possession, 5th completion, 5th line breaks, 3rd tackle bust. second offloads. They love an offload, don't the Raiders? 8th for tackles made. First, they were the best tackling team in the comp in ineffective tackles. They just never missed, or they did, but not much. Like, it's statistically there, and it's not. That wasn't all on Fogarty. No. Like, Fogarty was great. He was elite last year, and I had him in Origin because of the way he was playing. It was off the back of their edges. It was off the back of Hudson Young going a whole nother level and stopping everyone from talking about how underrated he is. Well, not everyone, but those people who just didn't rate him. He is now elite. And that forward pack. And I think you're 100% right. And their coach. He's not a shit coach. No. But that you are 100% right. I think their forward pack is that they would sit there and they'll pride themselves this year. So last year, I think their pride was Horsburgh's finally playing a lot of games. We've got depth in Tarpany, Papali, and the like, and we're going to sit there and we're going to be the best forward pack. This year, they're going to go, we're going to be the best forward pack, but we're going to look after our halves. And we're going to put ourselves into a position to win. And that's what they'll do. And all those statistics prove it, like line breaks, tackle bust, completion rating, possession percentage, offloads, is off the back of who? Them. And our modern game is you need your forward pack to do what they do. Your halves then just finish it off. Yep. And then you add that you've got the likes of a Kyle Weeks running on one edge, Strange on the other edge, those wingers, those centers. Yep. The team's elite still. Now, tell me, is Black and Sanders bums? No, because everyone's writing them off and treating them like they're bums and putting the Raiders in the bloody bottom 4 or in the bottom 8 like they're bums. Like, you wrote a really good piece about Black and how good he is, and they did everything they could to get Sanders over, and you guys at Para would still love to have Sanders. So, like, they're not bums. So I just don't see how they can drop from first to there. And last year, we had them all on the bottom, and most people, I didn't, but I had them missing out the 8. But a lot of people, they were favourites for the bottom of the ladder, and they finished first. They're not going to go from first back down again. This is just not going to happen.
The Black v Sanders battle is so curious to me.
Intriguing, isn't it?
It really is, and there's so many ways it can go because there's huge pros to it, and there's also some the cons is obviously just the fact that they're both young, they're both inexperienced. So I don't think like they're not bums, but they're inexperienced, which can sometimes hinder or hurt some of these playmakers, which is fair enough.
People are writing the Raiders off the back of those two guys, and that's who's going to be their halfback, and it's like, hang on a second, they're not. Yeah, okay, they're inexperienced, but the rest of their team's not.
They've been stars of junior seasons and careers now for a while. They've nailed big moments in these games and stuff time and time again. I don't think, it's going to be a different kettle of fish. We're not going to kid ourselves in that, but these two are very good young players, and everyone starts somewhere. Like, some of the best of all time started slow. It took some time to build into it, and they're good that they've got this forward pack that's going to dominate for them most weeks. It's going to help them out so much. And like you've said about Fogarty when we were speaking about Manly, is that Fogarty was helped a lot by the fact that he could just gift it over to Strange or an edge back rower to just do basically and make him look good. These kids can do exactly the same thing. They've got an extremely good passing game. They've both got good short and can do a long kicking game if needed and required. They can both game manage. There's no reason why they can't do what's the bare minimum that will be all that's required here to get the job done. And I think the fact that they'll be battling basically head and head all season long is a great thing, because it means they're going to continue to push themselves each and every week to be better. So there's not going to be a game where they can sit back and, let's say if Sanders starts, he's under extreme pressure to start from internally, because he knows if I have 5 out of 10 games in a row, I'm done.
Competition for spots is really big.
Yeah, and then Black comes in. If he has 2 games where he doesn't go too well, he's gone.
Yep.
He's gone back and go and learn these 2 things that you're failing on. Like, it's going to be constant, which is a positive. It's a huge positive in my eyes. And then the last ace in their sleeve is their coach, Ricky Stewart. The most passionate coach in the NRL, hands down. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Some hate it. I love it. I love what he does. I love what he's about. And I think the playing group will sit back and would love what they see.
And he loves his players' partners.
Yes, good. Well done on the Raiders social media team for that one. He's sitting at a dinner table with all the players' partners, and there's Ricky Stewart, just the head honcho,
of the table,
with this little grin on his face. It looked like he was like he knew what was happening. And every photo I've seen of him, he had this like sort of awkward little red tinge to his face, where he's like, Oh, okay. This is quite good. But anyway, you see him in the press conference. He wears his heart. He cries. He does everything. He kicks chairs. He's passionate. And the thing I think biggest about this, he's planned where the Raiders are at now for about 3 or 4 years. He's had this basically a trajectory where he's got this club now to where it's at. He had players like Tarpany 2-3 years ago who wanted out. They were literally like, I don't want to be here anymore. This isn't what I signed this club for, to be low table, getting beat every week. We're in Canberra. No disrespect to Canberrans, but it's a shithole.
Yeah.
They don't want to be here for that. And Ricky would have said to them, I've got this plan. We're going to be recruiting all these gun juniors, which is done. We're going to get to this stage. I reckon last year probably crept up on him and didn't realise it would have been that year. I reckon this year would have been the year he would have thought to himself, is the year. They're there now. They're a year ahead of schedule. I don't think he's going to let this club fall anywhere near where some people are trying to say they're going to fall.
Nah, it's just not going to happen. No. It really isn't. Not off the back of losing Fogarty. No. Like, Fogarty was a great player, but he's not that attacking. He just did what he had to do, and he was fantastic at it. Sanders and Black are going to come out, and they'll probably make a few mistakes, and they might do that, but the rest of the team around it will make do with it. Like, they're good defensively. Oh, they're freaking good defensively. They're great attacking wise, right? So, and it's all off the back of the rest of the team. It wasn't off the back of Fogarty. No. Fogarty was the glue that kept it all together, but they'll find other ways. And like, Strange will get better. Yep. I still think Strange should be in the centers. I still really would like to see that, but he will get better. So, and hopefully over preseason, he's learnt a little bit more of playmaking and stuff like that. So that sort of picks up on that. And then Starling is very good. Like, he got himself a 3-year contract because of how he played, and next to a Paddy, and then they go and do what they did with Brayley and that sort of stuff. Like, there's competition for spots across the park. They had a luxury to let a Trey Mooney go, and they love him. Yeah. Like, and Ricky Stewart openly said that they loved that, and that he loved Trey Mooney. Yet they had that luxury to let him go because we just don't have a spot for you, bro. Like, we don't have minutes. We can't get you those minutes. So they let him go. Like, I don't foresee top 4, but they're not going to, they're not going to fall off a freaking cliff.
They're not bottom 4. There's just no chance of a bottom 4 finish-wise. And look, people say it's obviously a big loss. And over throughout last season, when we look at it, yes, Foggy is a loss. But if calling a spade, he probably was their worst player when they needed him the most. Like, he let them down in the key moments, which I
think this is a different conversation, dude. Like, I mean. If the Raiders beat that Broncos team, which they were winning all game and only got Walshed in the end, not a bad ref call, but a controversial call because people don't want to see that call being made. If they win that game, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and the crystal ball is great, but it's a whole different story. We're talking this in a very different light, literally because they lost that game in a game to the team that ended up winning the premiership. So, okay.
What's your predicted finish?
Can you go yours
first?
I'll
go mine first. I've got him 5th. So I've got him in that top 4 battle for sure. I think they just might slip maybe 1 or 2 games, especially at the start with this experience, while they're learning things, which might hurt them in the long run. But I think they're definitely a top 8 side and in contention for that.
Yeah, love that call. I've got them 6th.
Yeah. Very valid reasons, probably similar. So
very much so. Just the way it is. It's a tough start. They will probably lose a couple of games just with the Black and Sanders effect, but they don't lose enough that they drop out. I've got it. And their team's getting loaded. Like, they're starting to lose dudes for Origin and things, so they might even lose a player or 2 there.
Who's your player of the year?
Oh, this was so hard, this one. Oh my God. I hate that you came to me first. I'm gonna go Ethan Sanders. Yep. No, sorry, Ethan Strange.
Yep. Either I actually would have taken, because I think either would be a very interesting storyline. I've gone Joseph Tarpany.
Yeah, I
think as a forward leader, this whole inexperienced halves pairing, I think he will take personally. And I think, obviously, again, World Cup year, New Zealand, the Kiwis have a massive potential favourites for this World Cup. He wants to be a leader for them. I think it's huge. So I've gone Tarpany there. South Sydney Rabbitohs. Trav, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They last year They finished 14th. They had a year from hell.
Year to forget, yet
Injuries,
still finished 14th.
left, right, and centre. They basically at the stage had Reggie Rabbit playing for him. It got to that stage, unfortunately. Yeah.
That's a good call, Reggie Rabbit. Nice. Where'd you hear that from?
I just made up in my head.
Did you really?
That's the quality of me hosting, guys. Just off the dome. There is so many people so high on the Rabbitohs this year. And you look at things, you go, they haven't really proven much for the last couple of years, to be fair. They haven't really been able to either because of injuries have really restricted what their capabilities are and what their players who have just been pushed way too early probably in their careers to do things and play a certain amount of games have been able to do. You look at things now, but because of all that, they've got quite a stacked squad. They've got a lot of players now with a bit more games under their belt, a bit more experience. It shapes things right. They've got the right players playing in the right positions in my eyes in terms of Jai Gray's now confirmed at fullback, which moves Latrell to that left centre role. It brings back that almost extremely daunting, and you'd probably have nightmares about if you're defending him each week, about that left edge, which that looks like it could be absolute fire this year. And their inspirational leader is back, Cam Murray, who, without doubt in my eyes, when fully fit, is the best lock in the game when fully fit, especially when it comes to all-round game and what he can do and his impact on the Bunnies and representative teams. There is some really good positive points about the Bunnies this year.
Yeah, and there's competition in the halves, which is good for them. They've signed that Glover sign. Oh, it was Glover, wasn't it? Yeah, the Glover signing was a big signing for them, which creates that. Sullivan's around. Everyone loves what Lockie Hubner did last year for them. He's only going to get better. So there's a competition for spots. They bring in Fafita. If Fafita becomes anything like he was, and they can and Bennett works his magic with him, and he's got that. Then, as you just said, then Tallis Duncan just showed last year how elite he was. Yeah, like I'm very high on this Rabbitohs team, and it's really hard to not put them in the 8. But the competition, like you said, is just so close. It's one of those. This is one of those teams that's really hard to gauge where the hell I put them on the list. And I could be very wrong. They could finish on the bottom of the ladder if they get injuries again. They could bloody well make a top 4. Like and we're going to have massive egg in our face, and people are going to have egg in their face when they potentially come and say, "Oh, you're an idiot for putting them there." Yeah. And it's like where they finish, and it's like, well, hang on a second. You know, everyone's going to look at this, and I don't think there's going to be many people that's going to get this right. Statistically, last year they were the worst team in almost every category. 16th or 17th, and they broke history for injuries in the NRL. Yeah. Like it has to get better. And yet they still finished 14th and won 9 games, Joel. Put that through your head. They statistically were the worst team at 16th or 17th in pretty much every single statistic category that you could have, yet they still won 9 games.
They should have won the wooden spoon last year. I think everyone would have looked at it and gone, you know what, fair enough. Let's just move on. I'm not going to criticize them too much. It's been that year. They had the injuries, blah, blah, blah. Fair enough. You got the wooden spoon. Move on. But they didn't. Like you said, they actually cleared the wooden spooners by some way as well. They actually just sprinted off in the end. Wayne Bennett, this might be a massive call, but I'm going to say it. I think this is the year where he needs, if he's going to win that next premiership, it's this year. If he can't get it done this year, I don't think he can do another one. I think there's a lot of pressure on this year for the Bunnies in terms of everything seeming like it's there in the right position. Some of their players are really sort of at that peak period. There's talk of retirements soon for the likes of like Cody Walker and that as well, which will hurt when it does happen. So with that magic, that sprinkly dust that Wayne has, that effect he has, I think this year is huge for that to take full effect.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, I think Bennett needs to retire, unfortunately.
I'll back that in, actually. Yeah. I think I'll back that in. I think it might be time to happen. In the only downside we've spoken about it, obviously, it's just the injuries. It's just the fact they've got this, and I know they've all they've changed a lot of things at the club now, and things seem to happen. But already this preseason's been started, and there's already some niggles happening, training injuries once again, which I know South Sydney fans just have their heart in their mouths type thing going, not again, surely. Luckily, both injuries so far have been cleared. It's not as bad as anyone would have thought. But the fact that it's still there, like players' bodies are still hampered by these things. It's still risk of agitating and happening again. Like there's so many of these players now that have that in their bodies, in their system, where you just can't get rid of that. It's not going to be a click the fingers, things are back in the training camp or the staff have been fixed so that or miraculously goes away. The niggles are still there.
Yeah.
It's not gone.
Yeah, they still train on the same field.
Yeah.
They're still generally doing the same sorts of things. It's just better recovery and stretching and gym and all that sort of stuff. But that's the reason why I've said I made that call about if it doesn't work this year, Bennett needs to retire, because they're going to lose Keon in 2027. And I don't think he's the age or in the mood to do a rebuild or build young players up into that and then hang around for years enough for him to do it. So that's why I made that call. If they do really well this year, they'll pretty much keep the same team next year. Obviously losing Keon, I think he then can hang around. But yeah, that injury call and these young guys coming through is a massive factor as to what the Rabbitohs do this year.
The other last one is headspace. And I'm talking about their inspirational leaders, Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell, in terms of the buy-in, especially from a Latrell factor, because obviously now the positional change, which has been very public, by all reports, I actually haven't seen any really direct quotes from Latrell to back this up, but from what
do much
the club
anymore,
is saying, he's on board for it all and he's great, which is great in theory. But what's going to happen after round 3 or 4 if things aren't quite looking like they are, and he's now then kicking up stones straight away. And the playing squad will see that. There's a chance that just affects what's happening and what's been built in that preseason. Jai Gray starts to question himself, and you don't want that for Jai Gray. You want him out there playing freely and being confident, having the backing of these senior players. And we've seen in the past with players like Lockie Elias who thrown into some of these spines and stuff, and they just haven't been able to do anything really because these guys just take control. I hope they are all fully on board and realise they need these other guys to shine. So the best thing is for them not necessarily take a backward step, because they still need to be the best players on the field for South Sydney to do well, but they just need to bring them in, to basically put their arm around them and just go, let's go. And if something doesn't go Latrell's way, instead of doing what he does, and we know what he does, react differently once or twice. Just be like, you know what, heads up, let's go. I've effed up here, but I'll put the hit on. Trust me, boys, I'll get the ball back.
I just want to challenge something with Latrell Mitchell about that, because Latrell Mitchell is still 28 years old, right? He's had so much attention, so much negativity about it all through his career as a baby. Like this is his prime time now. And he's copped the amount of flack. There's no one that should have copped what he has copped. And there's reasons to it, and I'm not going to get onto it a podcast for that. Like he's had some silly moments and stuff like that. He's Indigenous, which for some silly reason people want to try and have a go at. But he's a gun. He's so freaking good, and
especially
he's still 28 years old. He doesn't turn 29 till end of June, so he's in his prime now. He's going in the center where he can look after his body just a little bit better.
And have moments.
And have those moments. But not only that, you can show, because he's not your fullback, right? He's a great fullback. And we all lock him into Supercoach teams and things like that because he's so good. But he's not a fullback in terms of, like, he now as a center, he can just pick those moments where he runs. And he saves himself for the runs. Whereas as a fullback, you've got to run and then run and then run and then run again. As a center now you've got that size body doing what that guy does in his prime, where he's being told now and he's being protected a bit more from the media and stuff like that by the club. Mitchell's ready to explode, and I can't bloody wait to see it. And I hope Mitchell puts egg on the face of all those people that keep writing him off because of his behavior and things that he's happened to him in the past, and he really slams it, because our game is so much better when he is just killing it.
I hope he's done a bit of work in the off-season in terms of, it looked like last year he was very close to calling Curry.
I think that's because of everyone giving him shit where they don't need to, and it's...
it's going to happen again at some point.
I
this
hope
year.
they don't.
It will, and I
I know.
just hope for
But
his
that
sake.
sucks. I don't want to. I know we're doing this and I'm sorry I'm cutting you off, but I'm really passionate about this shit. Like, that sucks that people are bringing this guy down so much that we're going to lose such a talented guy, or potentially lose such a talented guy because they ride him for that. Like, it's people need to pull their freaking heads in.
Yeah.
Sorry. I really do apologize for that. But
What's your predicted finish for South Sydney?
This is what I said, right? This is probably going to come back and haunt me, and it's going to bite me in the ass because I'm very high about these guys, but I got them at 11th. I've got them out of the 8. I'm so high on some of these guys and these teams, and this is a good list, and they're coached well, and I want Mitchell to kill it. No, I really like the little rabbit and Jai Gray. He's that, and Kulamatangi now being put into prop and saying this is your full-time spot, although he says he doesn't want that, but like he has to admit that he is. Cam Murray back, like it's just so freaking hard to pick. I've got him at 11th, but they could finish in the top 4. They could also finish in the bottom 4.
I've gone 9th. Only reason I've gone 9th is because I just feel like with everything that's happened in the last few years, there's going to still be a couple of really key injuries for this side, unfortunately, that will hurt them. I think they're going to be so close. I think there's so much to play for this year, which will be the driving factor. And we've seen it last year. They were able to get wins where they just didn't need there was no reason for them to win the game, and they would. I just think there might be a couple of games where just unfortunately they lose just because they've just got a couple of banked up injuries, unfortunately. But I can easily see him in the top 8 for sure. Player of the year, I've gone Jai Gray. Hopefully he gets a full This is basing off a full season at fullback, which I'm almost positive he will get now. I think he'll be everywhere we've seen. With Jai Gray, it's not just attack. He's actually really good defensively.
Yes,
he saves a hell of a lot of tries.
Yep.
So I think he'll be everywhere. He's adored already by the South Sydney and NRL public in general.
Figure.
I think he'll get the player of the year. He's almost one of the ones in this whole thing where I was almost the most sure on.
I'm going to call that by the end of this year, we're going to get a cricket term called the Little Master, and he's going to be given it. That's how much I like him. I'm going to double down on this. I've said that Latrell Mitchell, a full year at centre, is going to become one of the probably the best, and that's at least top echelon centres. And off the back of that, he gets Player of the Year for the Rabbitohs. Yep.
No, that is absolutely fair enough. Let us know once again, guys. Rabbitohs, do you think top 8? I think that's a big question here. This should be a polarising one. I think there'll be plenty of in and out of comments saying yes. There'll be also some saying no for whatever reason. Penrith Panthers. Tell you what, the Penrith Panthers, I am very keen to talk about the Penrith Panthers because obviously last year they finished 7th. They got all the way through till the grand final qualifier. Were about 15 minutes or 10 minutes away from beating the Broncos. They just fatigue got to them. It felt like the last 4 to 5 years got to them, and they they tripped about 100 meters out from a marathon finish, unfortunately, and the Broncos were great in that run home. They now come into this year for the first time since 2021, I think, 2022, where they're not the hunted. They are now the hunters, and that's massive. This is a squad that can now, and I still think to a point there'll be plenty of teams who they'll be like, all right, reverse the Penrith Panthers, get up for this one. But there'll just be some elements of this where they'll get some decent teams or some decent opposition in a lull period, and they'll be like, sweet, we've got this game, and we just need to turn up, and we're that Penrith team to get it done. So I think that's massive, and it will mean that they don't often have to be up every single week and they have to exhaust themselves every single week to get some of these, which would be massive. But I also think, and with a tough run of games that they have, not just the start of the year, but throughout the season, really, and especially the run home as well, that these players, these big game gun players who are almost the best, they've got many of the best in their position of top 3, will just love. They are just going to go into this season, I think, going, you know what? Everyone's talking about the Broncos. Everyone's talking about the Storm. Everyone's talking about the Roosters. We're here, and the hunger is there more than ever.
I don't think anyone's not talking about Penrith winning this competition. Like, if you are, then I'm not entirely sure you are following along like anything. this is still a young team. Look, they've got some older heads in key positions, but this is still a young team. Nathan Cleary is prime time.
And sorry, even their older players aren't
they're not
old players.
No.
Yeah.
Nope, they're not. So, you're like, I think their oldest guy is Sorensen, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Sorensen, and he's still pretty good.
This might be his last year. He might be a Bears signing.
Yeah, but either way, like, he's still not at the end of his career, right? He's still got good time in him.
Yeah.
Like Dylan Edwards is not at the end of his career in his Australian fullback, arguably. Brian To'o's far from it. Tongo's young. Casey McLean's young. Alamotti's young. Talangi's very young. Smith is still young. Like, then you've Papali'i is still young. Like, if you're saying that they're not making the top 4 and in for a fighting chance of winning it, then I think you're just a hater, and you've got the proper tall poppy syndrome. You just don't like teams being successful. You don't like people being overly successful.
Knowing the fact that it feels like the Bears been poked, the monster that the Penrith Panthers have been poked last year after not winning it, and
still finished 4th.
I know. I'm just like, it feels funny to say that they finished that, but I just
almost beat Broncos.
Almost beat the Broncos, but I feel like this side, this is what they needed. And it just felt weird because it just kept going. It just felt like there was always unlimited driving factor to just be, all right, we just won 4 in a row. Why can't we win 5 in a row? Why can't we win 6? Like, it just kept going. It was like, okay, what's going to stop this side? What motivation will stop? It felt like it was more so body and fatigue stopped them. But this year, they've got a bit of a break. They're coming back, and it's just like some of these inexperienced guys that you've mentioned have come back, and they've just gotten into this side, and they're the first guys that for 5 years basically have stepped into an organisation who have just consistently won the comp, and it's just now become an expectation, and they're part of that side that didn't win it. I think they'd sit there and go, shit, a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, but they were also part of the team
possible.
that was winning it. Like yes. Most of those guys were also part of the team that was winning it. So I see what you're saying, 100%, and that mentality is the way it is. I think the only thing, there's 2 things that stops the Penrith Panthers this year: key injuries, and other teams just go nuts and beat them, because that's the only way. Like, there's still, we for 4 years in a row we said Penrith don't win it because they've lost these guys. Well, after the 5th year they didn't win it, but they were in the final 4, didn't lose anybody. If anything, those younger guys like Casey McLean's come on leaps and bounds to be in the top echelon of centers. Like, Talangi's going to get even better. Hopefully Edwards improves again. Like, your Papali'i, he showed what he did at for Para. Like, it's just got to be. They're there, and then you've still got that bloody dog guy named Liam Martin, like, leading them on the front foot, and one of the Bash brothers in Leota still doing what he's doing, and Lindsay Smith's getting into the top echelon of forwards as well. Like, then you've got Nathan Cleary. Like, it's. I can't see it. I really can't see. And you're trying to say things to have a podcast and to put it out there for content and stuff like that. And it's not bad. Like, you're trying to have a conversation and we're trying to make this, but I can't do it.
There isn't much to say on Penrith.
I can't. It is. These guys are good, and they're going to be even better. And they're not. That you're right. But I think they also still feel like they're the hunted because they got to the end as well. So there's that sort of ego-y part of it too. Like, I can't wait to watch this year, and I can't wait to watch Penrith Panthers.
The biggest dangerous point here for the rest of the competition is the fact that you've mentioned it, the minimal roster change. That's the biggest danger here, because they literally go into day 1 of preseason now after a good sort of extended break for a lot of their key players. So they're refreshed. They don't have to take a month to develop partnerships. Talangi and Cleary come back and go, how's things, brother?
Second preseason.
Let's go again. And I remember those little things in like the Broncos game where we didn't quite ice. Let's work on that now and make sure we ice that moving forward, where this time last year it was, what's your favourite colour?
But there's other things to that. Like, you're 100%, you've nailed that. But Cleary made some mistakes that are un-Cleary-like. So I reckon Cleary's going to sit there in the tape going over off-season going, that's un-Cleary-like. I ain't going to do that again. So he's even going to get even better. And and he's also he's the best halfback. I think he's the best player in our competition.
Yeah.
But if he's out, I think they win that with the team. They win enough games still to make the most of it and get where they need to get to. And we saw what they can do from 7th. That was 7th last year, and what they did, they still got to the Final Four and should have beaten the Broncos in the end, really. And they got Walsh. So, it's unreal.
Predicted finish for me, I can't see this side doing anything other than this. I think they're coming first. I've got Penrith first. This hunger, being against all the best of the best teams, and this whole team being basically together, knowing that they're in preseason right now and some other clubs are working on things and they're just basically hitting the ground running and going, let's just go to another level for this stuff, is so dangerous for this football team. I know, yes, the non-home ground it does hurt them, but they've got through that last year. They're now a bit more established, things at CommBank and how it all works, stuff like that. So I just think first.
Not a bad stadium to have as a home ground too. I've got them at first too.
Player of the year?
Dylan Edwards.
Ooh.
I think there's a resurgence in his career. I think he just does the hard yards. He also doesn't play Origin, so he's going to play over that period.
That's a big call. He's a custodian really for Origin, so big call there. But it is a big drive. It's a storyline for Dylan Edwards because obviously potentially could be out of the Blues side. World Cup year, where he's in a huge battle with Reece Walsh and a number of fullbacks to get that spot. So he's got some driving forces behind him to really keep going, and he needs to start fast and just hold on to that. Again, I think a player that really needed that little break this off-season for sure. Didn't go away, obviously, for the end-of-season rep duties as well, so he's had that additional break. I think it'd be big. For me, we really hardly spoke about him, actually, which was surprising for a Penrith part of the podcast, but Nathan Cleary. I think, again, a guy who, like we've pointed out, there was a couple of... And he's obviously, he did play in the Australian games, but for club level... There just was a couple of little moments in that Broncos game that didn't quite get right and didn't pull the trigger or when he should have. I think that would eat him up deluxe, knowing what he's like. He would have watched that time and time again and probably still does. I think he comes out. Plenty of people are talking about it, not being the guy that can kill the rep scene and stuff like that. But I think he comes out and he just looks at the draw and goes, all right, we've got some tough games to start with. I've got a point to prove, and I'm just going to keep going with it throughout the year. So I think Nathan Cleary gets player of the year.
I laugh, and I will end it on it, but Nathan Cleary has nothing else to prove other than what he can do on the Origin field.
Yeah.
That's it.
The Newcastle Knights. So for last year, the Wooden Spooners, unfortunately for them, the dagger to the heart, they weren't last for any time of that year apart from the last day of the year, which just sucks for them, but to be fair as well, they were playing dreadful football for that last almost 2-month period, really. And the writing was on the wall there. Adam O'Brien obviously just ended up failing what he was trying to achieve. The players, the crowd, no one were responding to it. It was just a horrible mix that came to an end. And it's now a bright future, so to speak. A Justin Holbrook era now starts for the Newcastle Knights. A bright signing, a big name, big money signing in Dylan Brown. Trav, I look at the Knights this year, trying to think of what's happening, and I keep looking back at the fact that they've got Kalen Ponga, Dylan Brown, Fletcher Sharp in this side, and I just say to myself, any side with those three players in their side, surely it's a season where you just sit there and just start the year thinking pretty positively.
They're very good players, aren't they?
Yes.
Very good. Then you add in the Bradman Best and the Greg Marjus.
The back line.
Dan Gaggai's pretty good. Tyson Frizzell's no scrub. Dylan Lucas is one of the better edge back rowers. Yeah.
Then let me put why this doesn't sound as good as it potentially is, because you add to the forward pack. Into that, then we've spoken so far about plenty of these teams, and we say the forward pack is just so key to unleashing your star backline and your halves and your exciting star play. You then look at a forward pack for Newcastle Knights, and apart from one or two, obviously, really plays like your Dylan Lucas in that position, especially in the middle. It's what you call it's not much happening. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on Craig Mooney.
And gun play, I've seen some gun things happening for Trey Moody when it comes
to what he can do, and especially the lower grade side of things. He hasn't done it yet consistently at first grade either. So that's just realistically about that. There's not much happening in the forward pack yet. There's some potential. There's plenty of potential there. But for 2026 and this year, you can't really do much with potential. You need some really big forwards who can lay this platform for these other guys to shine.
Yeah. Look, Saifides, I don't not like him. I think he's all right.
He's all right.
But then, like, who's going to play next to him? Like, who's the other guy? And then is Mooney actually that guy? And then who comes off the bench? You know, you've got Lucas and Kant talked about as being the edge-back rowers, but Jermaine McEwen, it might be that guy as well. And he showed that if he's a full-time edge-back rower, then he's going to do it too. Like, it's... Yeah, look, unfortunately, there's talent all around the park other than the big boys in the middle.
Yeah. And I think I love the fact that Justin Holbrook's arrived. So this suits sort of the style I'm looking at here for the Newcastle Knights and what they need to play. Very similar to the Titans, actually. I feel like both clubs in similar positions will play similar styles of football this year, where it's, we love to be that defensive powerhouse club. Realistically, though, it's not going to happen. We don't have the forward packs to really back that up. So we need to try and run the football. We need to promote active, basically, football and attacking football, which I'm thinking that the crowds and that will back and to the best thing for the Newcastle Knights, really, their crowd. You need to play a style of football that community can be just
beyond that.
Proud of. And I think Holbrook can do that. I think he can bring that out. But again, similar to the Titans, I think it will take a little bit of time. And there's a few little headaches here that could turn into big headaches that do need to be sorted out still.
What headaches are you referring to?
4 into 3 don't work, and I'll let you run with that.
Look, the fact is that putting Fletcher Sharp on the talk around having Fletcher Sharp out on the wing just dumbfounds me. I just think that doesn't work. I don't like that. I think Sandon Smith should be the
7, and I think Brown should be the 6. But it just blows my mind that Fletcher Sharp's missing out on that 5'8" spot after what he did last year. Yeah. So then I have to think about how would I work it. So if I'm going to be a coach and I've got this talent, I've got to work it. So I'd be putting Crossland out and putting Sandon Smith as the hooker and having my Sharp and Brown as the halves. And just because of your forward pack, just run the absolute crap out of everyone. Now that doesn't suit Brown, as we said in the para side of things, but I think next to Brown, then you've got Sharp doing what he's doing. You got Ponga in the back. You got Sandon Smith, who's basically a halfback, going to be in the hooker. That can kind of alleviate some of the angst around the Dylan Brown stuff that makes him not as good as his talent is. And then they should be, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, and I just think long term as well. Like if you were looking so far into the future for the Knights, that 4 into 3 really doesn't work because Fletcher Sharp might play the team game short term and go, you know what? Like when I first came into grade, I actually had a really good think of it. Like at wing, I was actually really good at it. I had some really great moments, and Holbrook should give him the license to roam a bit if he sees some stuff with the quality that he has. But he won't then sit back and go, I'm not going to do this though for 2-3 years. And Ponga is not going to then go sit back and go, well, if I'm not going to be a fullback, I'm not staying.
Yeah.
And then Brown's going to say, I'm here to play 5'8". Really, if you're going to give Brown that money and for that amount of game, you play him at his best position. So you play him at 5'8". That's just
play him where he's going to be. Yeah, that's right.
Your two biggest, highest paying players is Ponga and Brown. You look at that and you put them straight in at their best positions, which is 5'8" fullback, and then you go from there. So it's interesting to see how they really balance it up. I think for the rest of it, though, for the Knights, it's just going to be one of those years. Like I said, it's just going to be they might have a game or two where you're like, holy crap, this is a really good side. Like they're actually starting to do something. But I feel like for most of it, it's going to be just a building year. It's just a patience year. Things are going to work. I think Holbrook has to do a lot in terms of the forwards when it comes to recruitment. And that's not going to happen overnight. There's no forwards really on the market at the moment to improve things right now. So it's going to have to take a little bit of time.
Yep.
So unfortunately, be a little bit patient. But I think Holbrook is a fantastic coach for what they need at the moment. He'll do some really good things there. I'm looking forward to watching what happens this year. I just don't think success will be there necessarily at all.
No, I think that you have to judge success this year on other things other than win-losses.
Yes.
I think it's got to be success on how their juniors come through and what that starts to look like, what the community pathways and stuff that's looking like, which they've got in line with from all reports, how these combinations play and what they do. How would the new signing of a Mooney and the Brown come up? Like that's what the Knights need to judge success on, and the community should look at that and hope that they play better with a more caring attitude than what O'Brien and the like did in 2025.
Yep. Let's just get straight back into then the predicted finish for the Knights. I think there's not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to the Knights because there's just a lot we'll probably end up talking about more so during the season and seeing how things end up working out. I've got them 15th. I don't think it'll be a spoon. I think they'll do enough, and they've got enough quality players there to get a few of those wins that they need, especially against some of these lower teams around them. But I just think, they won't go too further up from that either.
I've got them exactly 15th as well. Yeah. And that, funny enough, that's exactly where I had my, just off the top of my head and where I did all the matches, and the Knights finished 15th as well. I think that talent wins them a few games to get them off the bottom of the ladder, just like you said, but it doesn't give them enough to get too far.
What about your player of the year?
This is a tough one. Dylan Lucas.
Ooh,
plays all year.
I like that. I've actually gone the star recruit, Dylan Brown. I feel like I've got a few that have like asterisks next to him because this is based off the fact he gets to play 5'8" for the year. If he goes to half 8, there's no chance he's playing player of the year. There is no chance of it. But if he gets to stay at 5'8" and Sandon does what we want him to do, to just literally just control. That's all he has to do, and let Dylan Brown run and stuff like that. I think he'll be great for him.
Yeah,
he'll be fantastic. So,
and it'll get a lot of the naysayers off his back too.
I agree with that. I think there's just some there's some fans out there, some para fans that are just a bit hurt still and just haven't quite gotten over it because I guarantee you if they had the chance, they would have loved to keep him in the lineup. The North Queensland Cowboys, Trav. It's this is where I feel like we might lose Rob, unfortunately. Producer Rob is still here. After this, maybe not. So last year they finished 12th. How? I don't quite know. I really feel so bad for Cowboys fans. I've got to be honest because it's just one of those years once again where, similar to Manly, it's like it's not a hatred towards the Cowboys at all. Like, I don't hate the Cowboys. I actually really love watching the Cowboys when they're a hot side when they're on. I think back to the Thurston, the Bowen years, and then they had the Gavin Cooper on the edge.
Taumalolo, Jonathan
in his prime.
Thurston,
they had all that sort of those players working, and I want to see like this Dearden, Purdue, Drinkwater. Like they've got enough players there. Nanai's when he's on. Talangi can do some freakish stuff. I just at the moment I'm just going to call it out. I don't want to bullshit this episode for any longer than it needs to be, but I just don't think it's a good year coming up. I think Todd Payton's his time is up. Similar to Seabold, this is really why I'm so negative on the Cowboys. It's purely down to coaching. I just think, and it's coaching. It's the fact I look on the side on paper, forward pack and the backs. I don't really like a lot of it. What's going on? It's just all round. I just don't like what I'm seeing.
Look, I don't have a lot to add to that, to be honest. I really don't. There is my favourite player in the competitions in this team, and I feel really, really bad for him, unfortunately. And he's got the worst coach in the comp.
And that's all it is. What a marriage that is. What a pairing. That's
it's so
always
disappointing.
Going to work. It is. It is. And I just... Sorry, Cowboy. I'll give you one positive. It's the fact you got Drinkwater, Dearden, and Purdue. That is your positive right now at this present stage. And you literally, I guarantee you, any game you win this year, they're going to be your 3-2-1s. That's it.
Yep.
I can't go any. And maybe Nanai will have time to time when he's back and he's fit and stuff. We'll have obviously those moments where he'll have a game or two, obviously building into the World Cup year, and Samoa are pretty stacked, so he does need to put his best foot forward to get a spot there. He'll need to have a few of those games, which he will. You obviously got Lukey as well, who's a good up-and-coming star. He just needs to get his body right, unfortunately. There's some good young players who, if they can live up to things and start to really build into their career, as we think or hope they should, they can potentially do something. Yeah. I just can't see him still getting anywhere near that top 8.
Look, no, I don't think they're going to get anywhere near the top 8. But like Ruben Cotter's a good player. Yeah. Reed Marnie was a good recruit to lock in at the 9. But then they go and get Sonny Luke. So like that confuses me. Helam Luke, if he stays healthy, has elite talent. Murray Talangi's good. Like they're raving about Tom Chester and his like, but yeah, it's not a great forward pack again. It's older, so more than likely some injuries are going to come through. I don't think the coach is the right person for this roster. Yeah, and I just don't think their values and the way that they play in this modern game suits. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah. Let's save ourselves any further bashing, because there is just not much. And I hope, Cowboys fans, you can come to us at the end of the year when you're in the top 8, you're playing finals, and you go and basically stick your finger up at us. I will take it and I'll absolutely wear it. And I hope for your sake you're right. I just can't see it happening. So I'm just going to go straight away. Trav, what's your predicted finish? Let's get out of here.
Look, they couldn't have a better start. They play the Knights in Vegas, then they've got the Tigers, the Titans. Look, the Storm game at home, so anything can happen up there. They've got a very good advantage. Then they got the Dragons, then they got the Broncos, then they got the Eagles. Like they've got a solid start. I can foresee them winning games that they shouldn't, but losing games that they should. And therefore, look, unfortunately, I've got them in last, 17th.
Wow. Okay. I've got them 16th, so not too far off you anyway. So
your wow reaction's not warranted then.
I just thought for those at home listening in their cars or watching. So, yeah, I've got them 16th. I can't see much happening, unfortunately. Player of the year, though, I've gone your basically adopted son, it feels like now. Tom Dearden.
I'd happily have him as my son. Tom Dearden's my player of the year too, yeah. Can't look past their best player by far. Look, I mean, Drinkwater is a gun as well. He's very, very good. But I think Dearden is just that guy. Let's play a little game at home, guys, this season. Overs or unders on Trav and how many gloating stories or basically just fancy stories he has on Tom Dearden this year. He'll be just glazing him. I would go over and under. I'm going to go say 10 at least for this season. There'll be certain points of the year where you're just in your world with him. And I'll just let it happen. I'll put the love heart eyes over emojis over my eyes for sure.
There you go. Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Oh, okay. All right. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Third last year. They were bundled out last year in the finals as well. Straight sets. Unfortunately, they lost to the Storm. And the week after that, they versed the Panthers and lost that as well. So that little bit of they're starting to get to that phase now where they're not just spoken about when it comes to being a top 8 side. That's not really success anymore for them. It's literally winning these big games. It's going to be tough. I find this one a pretty tough one to do because a lot of this talking point, I think, in the way we're going to evaluate and decide on how good this dog season is what they do in the finals. It's not about what they do during the year, unless one of us has a prediction where they won't make the 8, which I don't know if we will have or not. But I think that it's going to be a tough one because I think we know what the Bulldogs are made of. We know they're going to be a tough, defensive, gritty side. Mm-hmm. That's their DNA now. Everyone knows now it's not going to be an easy win. You're going to be battered, bruised. They're just going to play lights out football. Stephen Crichton is a freak in terms of not just on the field, but his leadership and how much he has grown into this role. I never thought he could be this figure. Like, he's become arguably the best captain in the competition. Like, his inspiration is just almost unmatched. You've got that guy and you are running out every week going, I cannot do anything other than play 110% every week. And that's what they're doing.
And then they add Leo Thompson. Galvin on a preseason, and hopefully all the noise stops. Preston gets better. It's good. I think their edges are great.
Yeah.
Carraz is another year older and only getting better. We still forget how young that dude is.
Yeah.
Bronson Cherry has now had his another preseason, playing another year. Like it's all good. And Serraldo is a good coach, and I love how Serraldo's. It's last year he was starting to get more attack and starting to do that, whereas when he first started and what happened in 24 was that defense. We need to lock that down. They've continued that. It's all positive for the Bulldogs. I only have a couple of questions, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but yeah, I'm very intrigued to watch the Bulldogs this year.
The big question mark is, and I can't believe we're starting the season with this question mark, is the halves.
Yeah, well, there was that injury to Woods didn't help.
It hasn't helped, and if anything, it's made the situation worse than it needs to be, because if the Dogs play this year with the halves pairing of Galvin Burton for majority of this season, I actually think they're going to be in that real struggle to make the 8. I don't like that halves pairing at all. I think it's had enough time to flourish and do something, and I just don't think they can. They're both very good 5'8", and that's what they are. Neither of them are halfbacks. They've got a guy now who has been touted for a long time. They've been pretty... he's still actually young, but they've been really good and patient and let him just really develop. It's been this year where it felt like the trigger was getting pulled. Gus alluded to it at the end of last year and basically said he's our first choice halfback, basically. And unfortunately, now we've learned a lot more about it. He actually has some pretty decent length hamstring issues over the last year or two. He's had a number of them, which doesn't help. And you're trying to establish a combination where if they can then get into, and this is for mine, this would be ideal, if the halves pairing is Woods halfback and Galvin 5'8", you're talking a completely different story in my eyes. You're talking about a different football side, because Galvin, we've seen after Galvin within his first year of rugby league became a top 3 probably 5'8" in the game in the first year.
Yep.
We've seen Thurston, Johns, Cronk, the like, in their first year not even be touched or talked about. We're talking about a guy who was virtually a top 3 5'8" in his first season. He's gone to another club. Obviously, all that crap that happened, he didn't help at all. He then was playing out of position for the rest of basically that whole year. I was looking forward to him being able to have a whole preseason at 5'8", then work his magic and work into the year. And I think many would have realised what they'd probably forgotten about with being lost in all this, how good of a footballer Galvin is. I am now very worried about it.
Yeah. If you're going to put someone beside him, though, on that Bulldogs roster, Matt Burton's probably not a bad one to put beside him, just to help out. But yeah, look, going into this season, it was Woods and Galvin, and then unfortunately Woods just went and got himself injured. There's not much else to add to it, really. I think the defining factor of this team this year will be what happens in the halves, and if it works, they're going to be premiership favourites, and if it doesn't, they won't not make the 8. Their defence and their list is too good not to make the 8, but the competition's so good now that they're going to lose games that they probably shouldn't have based off that. So,
and it's obviously a flow-on effect with the halves. Basically, it's that last year their attacking raids, there was times where the attacking raids weren't quite what it was for the top teams. It was very, very clunky, and that just goes with it when you're having two guys who are one position trying to do different things and try and once it's all sorted, I'm going to anticipate start of the year will be very, very clunky for the Dogs. In a way, it might even be ugly for a while there, even with a lot of the players, and it'll just be some very ugly wins. By like mid-year, when we're obviously around that origin period, I think they'll start to then have Woods into the fray, and he'll probably be the 7. Things will really start to neaten up for the Bulldogs, and they'll be on a charge home and right up in there and amongst some things potentially for Bulldogs fans anyway. So
yeah, they've got they've got the Dragons first at Vegas, and then they've got the round 2 bye. Then they've got the Raiders, the Knights, the Rabbitohs, Penrith for a tough game, Para for a tough game, the Broncos for a tough game, and then they got the Cowboys. So they've got a good mix of good games, so they should be able to do enough to win games and win enough to keep them in that for when they can get those combos back and that. So I don't fear anything for the Bulldogs this year. The only thing I fear is themselves imploding. Yes. That's it. Other than that, talent-wise, leadership-wise, coaching-wise, their new recruits in Thompson, there's no negativity to that.
It's just the big games, which I said we'll talk about throughout the year and obviously towards the end of the year in finals and things like that. So them just predicted finish. I've got them 8th. I've got them just hanging on. I am just the only thing that's getting me about the Dogs is just this halves thing. It's really getting to me. It's really making me not. I think that the thing is, I actually think they're guaranteed an 8 side. But then once I put everything together, I just felt like I just see everyone who I've put above them feels better to me. So I just ended up having in there at 8th. I think originally when I did, I had them at they finished like 9th or 10th, and I said no, they're a top 8 side. So I had to put them in the 8, and I just had them in 8. So.
Yeah, I've got them 5th.
Yep.
So I think they can fight for the top 4, but that top 4 is very loaded. So Panthers, Roosters, Broncos, and we haven't spoken about them yet, but another team, and then the Bulldogs in 5th. So it's I think they'll be close. I think they'll win enough games to almost get there. It may even be a 3rd, 4th, 5th kind of tie, win-loss, same sort of thing. I think they're going to be very close. I don't see a big drop off.
Who's your player of the year?
I can't go past Crichton.
Yeah.
I just can't. He's just an absolute star.
Yeah.
He's a star of our game. He gets extra votes just for being a good leader.
I've gone Jacob Preston.
Yeah,
the reason I've gone Jacob Preston is I think there's a little bit to this. There's now a carrot being dangled for Jacob Preston with the announcement that Angus Crichton is going. So there is edge spots available in 2 very good rep sides. Obviously the Blues and the Kangaroos. Depending on if they're thinking immediate or if they want to look into a bit more of that 2-3 year window, they might see the fact that maybe if Preston's form's good enough, he might overtake the likes of Crichton. So it's a big year, and I just think that will push him on. He's already established himself now as one of the better second rows in the competition. Yep. So keen to see what he can produce.
Good call.
Let's head on over the Melbourne Storm. I tell you what, mate, your Melbourne Storm have had one of the craziest off seasons we've ever seen of your club, and it's so un-Melbourne-like because I feel like, especially off season, is the time where Melbourne want to get away, and they're just literally just that snake in the grass. They just go along, and no one knows about them. It's just like, oh crap, hang on, that's right. The Melbourne Storm are in this comp, and they are very good at what they do. It's just been like, it felt like for a period there, every second day there was this different article coming up or this different set of news that came out that was like, it wasn't like a small thing. It was actually like impactful news and departures or signings or whatever it was that was happening. It's been a very weird time. I don't know how that will impact the side. I don't know. I still think it's a very good side. I just wonder from a fan's point of view, like how, I don't know, it was just weird.
I don't find it weird, to be honest. Actually, no. Weird's probably not the right way. It is annoying. I'm used to us not being in the media and keeping things to ourselves. So having to get messages or talk on podcasts or put content out or whatever to talk about the Storm a lot more than I would normally is annoying. But I wouldn't say it's weird. And to be honest, what's happened? What is some of the news? So the Lomax stuff, I have no problems with us going that. I don't think we're really tied into that at all, other than that we've put our hand up and said, this is what we want to do, and let's see what happens. If he comes, he comes. If he doesn't, he doesn't. So I don't think that's affected us. Probably the biggest news was the Katoa stuff. But, that was a long time ago. We were able to replace that. You can't replace him, but we were able to get into it. Pezzett leaving, breaking his contract early with those clauses is fine. It was bound to happen as soon as Munster and Hughes were basically saying we're going to be here for a few more years. Yeah. And Munster saying no to Perth, basically. That would be that. And then the Meaney and Wishart going to Perth, well, all to them. To be honest, there's going to be a hell of a lot more. There's going to be at least another 17 signings to Perth. So, it's going to happen. And if I was Perth, I'd be going straight to the Storm and picking up some of these guys too. that's just the way it is. So, I as a fan and as an NRL person, I don't mind. Like, it is what it is. This is the makeup of it. And when PNG gets announced, it's going to get even worse. So, we've just got to get used to it. I'm not fussed by it. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. It's just, and look, let's be honest here. While you've still got the spine you've got, there's no real trouble at all. And yes, there's arguments to be made. The fact, like you said, there's no Eli Katoa and there's no Pappy and Nas basically let the club down in the two biggest games of the Storm's last 2 seasons. So in a way, it's sort of get out basically. For me as a non-fan, that just pisses me off if a guy like that's let you down in 2 years in a row. So I don't think he's a huge loss, but no Eli Katoa, who will have. He's that additional eyes for defensive lines who they are always worried about him just because of how bloody good he is. So that will impact the spine somewhat because, Hughes, for instance, that's his right-hand man. That's the guy that makes his job so much easier because he has that little bit extra space because people have to get off from Hughes. They can't just race up on him because they know, if we do that, that allows my halfback to be one-on-one with Eli Katoa, which he's never going to win that battle. That's torturous. So now they can actually go a little bit maybe, or it might take some time for either Lasardi or Chen, whoever it is that gets that spot, to establish himself as that guy, that then they go, oh crap, hang on, this is basically a clone of Eli Katoa. We're in trouble here. So it will be interesting to see how that all happens, but I just think while you've got a spine of Farlongo, Munster, Hughes, and Harry Grant, you're winning more games than you're not. You're playing finals football. You're a top 4 side. You've got the DNA. You've got Craig Bellamy there. Everything is still there for the Storm to be the Melbourne Storm. Is it the elite Melbourne Storm, though, that you're used to seeing? That's probably the only question because they're missing a couple of those little things.
I just don't foresee things dropping. I mean, I haven't put us in the top 2, so obviously I do foresee something, but I've got him in the top 4. But I don't see it. We haven't lost Wishart until 27, and he's a great impact guy. You can almost lock him in for a try if he comes on every time. Meaney is a loss, but I'm not okay, good. You're getting paid. You're going to go over there, do that. I think Stefano's going to improve again. His last third of the year was elite. Katoa affects games in more than just what you were saying. Now, not only that, you can't push up to get into Katoa and Hughes. You have to be mindful that if you do push up too high, Munster and Hughes are going to kick it over the top and put it in the air, and Katoa will go get it. So there's also that kicking aspect of that. Lasardi is, I think, if he is there, I think Lasardi is a very good runner, but he doesn't have the defense or the aerial attack that Katoa has. So there's going to be a loss there. But yeah, Pappy is a loss because we all love Pappy as Storm fans, but I think Sua's pretty bloody good too. And now he's been able to get on the leash, and we've still got Coates, who's the best winger in the comp, in my opinion. We've got talent still in the wings, like a Chan, a Leo, Pahulu. We've got that there. And if Stefano can take that next step, and Josh King just keeps doing what he does with those meat and potatoes, I'm pretty happy with where we're going and what we're at, and I'm not concerned. The only concern I've got is that all these other teams are getting better.
Yes, and that's the thing. I'm not trying to. My only thing from trying to say this, I'm just not trying to say the Storm are done. I'm not saying at all you guys are not going to be making the 8 this year. There is literally zero chance you don't make the 8 this year. You would have to have all 4 spine members out for at least 20 games, in my opinion, to not make the 8. And even then, you would be 9th or 10th at worst. It's just the Storm. That's what happens. It's just that I'm just curious as the storylines will play out. Brian Pappenhausen's been very huge and key for this side for so long. So it will be a loss, but it just will be Farlongo's a gun. Let's be honest here. Farlongo, I love him as a player. I'm so keen to see.
Yep.
The other small little thing is obviously Pezzett. Having him there was, in a weird way, because he was this youngster that not many people had seen too much of. We just all knew he was a good player. Mm. It's like a safety blanket sort of has gone away in a way, because you're probably sat back for a long time going, you know what, if Munster or Hughes gets injured, it sucks, but we've got Jonah Pezzett there, who's literally just waiting in the wings to scream. So it hurts a little bit. It just pulls. I know you've got a couple of good little kids and that coming through, which you'll be able to sort out throughout the year, and we'll start to see and hear a lot more. It just feels like that little safety blanket's not quite there, which just has that anxiety levels up a little bit going, please, Munster and Hughes, stay fit, please.
Yeah. But if we're calling, like, if that's what we're saying is a down, like, if that's a talking point for the Storm, then we're doing pretty bloody well. Because to be honest, Pezzett wasn't picked before Wishart. So Wishart came up and stepped in there. And then, like, your Garlick and Anderson took that 14th spot. So, like, now those two aren't here. So I see what you're saying. Absolutely. And I know, and everyone's right in saying that. But we have also picked up the fella from Penrith. We've got some,
Tolau.
We've got some guns coming through that won Jersey flag and stuff like that. So, like, we're there. They're just young, but if they have to play, they can play and they can do a job. But yeah, I'm not too fussed.
One final thing I want to ask you, and it's not, I guess it's a con in a way, but it's not. Depends how their reaction is. So 2 grand finals in a row now. Both have been losses, unfortunately, from a Melbourne Storm point of view. There's a human element here where it gets to a point where you go, man, this sucks. Like, it's been different clubs both times. Like, first year was Penrith, second year it was the Broncos. Both grand finals were a little bit different. Like Penrith, that was like a tussle and things like that. It was just sort of a little bit more. Last year was one of those ones where that no try to Kema Kamika was like the moment. It was like, if he scores that, you've won the comp. Like, there's just no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt. And then all of a sudden, it's like the Broncos went, hang on, we've been here so many times this year. We know now, let's grab this and run with it, which they did. Do you think it's going to take a hell of a coaching effort, and it's going to take a hell of a lot from this senior playing group to make sure that this doesn't have the effect it can potentially have?
Yeah, look, it definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're human.
Yes.
It happens. These are players. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and you know, they keep going. But I think the likes of Munster, Hughes, Grant, Bellamy, King, don't let that happen. Like, I think they just pull people through. I think that the one thing that may happen will be that an injury might sort of be a deflating thing. Like, if a Munster or a Hughes picks up some sort of injury, that could be a deflating issue. But yeah, otherwise, your point's valid, definitely.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a death rider. I still have the Storm very much as a successful team this year, just trying to get a little bit out of here, trying to get a little bit about some of the question marks that are out in the universe at the moment, because it just, like I said at the start, it feels like so far it's been very un-Melbourne like to start this year, which has just been different. I'm used to not talking about the Storm at this time of year. Like,
well, I remember last year we were sitting there saying you were trying to bring up stories, and I was like, there's nothing there.
That's what I mean.
Stop trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. But yeah, like, just kind of like what you did with Lomax the other day. Hey?
Here we go. He wants to try and get anyone that hasn't listened by now. Let's quickly plug some of the other stuff we do. The weekly podcasts and things like that have some great ones happening at the moment. Anyway, let's stop trying to make this mountain a molehill, as you say. Let's go to the predicted finish. So, what do you got for your boys?
I've got us 4th.
Mate, we're on the same page here. I've got them 4th as well. So, top 4 side. I think that's just, yeah. And if anything, there is potential for that to actually
go up.
Into first, second, third. Like, I would not be surprised still with what's happening. And then the guys that have been given the opportunity to be on the edges and stuff like that, and potentially Lomax and stuff, to have that star almost backline, then it would be crazy. Because that's probably the only little, that's like the backline's the other little questionable question mark in that side. But really, you still got Coates and Warbrick in that at the moment. It's not.
If Howarth stays healthy, it's a different story.
Yeah,
the problem last year was Howarth got hurt and he missed most of the year, and so then
Meaney was a little bit like
and Warbrick out as well. So it just created so much change.
Yeah.
So we Anderson chops in there and someone, and then we just couldn't keep it
defensively
going. That's right. Yeah. So if Howarth stays healthy, he locks that edge up next to Coates, and we'll be sweet.
Yeah. Player of the year, I've gone Cam Munster. I think, with what's happened so far and the impact of potentially what will happen, I think the start of the year, Hughes might be a little bit impacted and take some time to get used to a new playing partner in terms of his edge back rower. I think Cam Munster steps up from the start of this year and just he's got the capacity of Queensland and stuff like that. He's just really matured as a player. It seems like the last year or two, matured as a bloke. I think he just comes out this year from word go. I keep talking about World Cup. I think it's massive, this sort of stuff. He just comes out and he goes, you know what? I'm the big dog once again in this competition. People talk about Nathan Cleary. I'm right there when it comes to being one of the best players in the competition, owning the big games time and time again. I know it's not quite the Melbourne Storm that we're used to or we know, so I'm going to make sure we continue to be that Melbourne Storm side. And I think, I'm ready for him to have a huge year.
I like it. I'm going to put something out there as a big call, but I think based off what we need and to make up for some of the losses that we've had, I'm going best player Stefano. I just think there's another level. We recruited this guy and highly recruited him and put a lot of effort into trying to get him to have that level. And there's a whole nother level. And that since Origin, when he came back, okay, he had a bad grand final. He didn't have a great grand final. I think he got overruled and got put too much into that. But there's a whole nother level for him, and I'm very keen to see him just take the reins as a big bopper that Storm need that we haven't had for a while, because unfortunately Nas has not had that impact for a long time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm very keen. One final thing, I'm just very keen to see some of these younger forwards that the Storm have had now for a little bit of time have a really good opportunity, which they seem to have. There's a couple of good spots to grab here. I'm keen to see who grabs them and what they can do throughout the year and some consistent football. The New Zealand Warriors. So last year, a season of almost sort of what could have been in a weird way. They still finished sixth in the regular season. Unfortunately, lost that first round of the finals to a Penrith Panthers side. Starting to find that form that they're renowned for. Injuries sort of got them in the end. They just got a couple of really key injuries. One too far, too many. They just weren't able to match some of those better sides at that big end of season sort of fit for the Warriors, unfortunately, Trav. But we look at this year, and once they start getting these players back, we're talking Metcalf when he's fit, Barnett as well, two very, very key players for what the Warriors have built themselves around and their crew, their side and squad. There's still some really bright sparks and great points for this Warriors side to be really optimistic for this year and to ensure it's still a very successful one, similar to last year. And if anything, there's actually an argument to say they potentially look stronger.
I wouldn't say stronger just because they're waiting till about 7-8 for Metcalf to come back. And until he comes back, I think the storyline of the Wars for 2026 is, can they limit damage with Metcalf and Barnett out early? And if they can, then I guess the season is fresh. If they can win a game or two out of the Roosters first, then the Raiders, then the Knights, then the Tigers, then the Sharks, then the Storm, then the Titans at round 7, where they think Metcalf is roughly going to get back, I think they'll be okay. Their list is good. I think this is a limit damage, get Metcalf back, and then anything can happen, and 2027 is beyond. There's some studs though, like Halasimas, they're talking about as the next big thing. You've got Fisher Harris and the boys all working there. Tuapicki's a gun to be fullback. It's just, I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Wars, but and I think it's limit damage until these injury guys come back.
Yeah, they're such a very odd team this year, I'm finding, even when I'm doing predictions and things like that, because I'm looking at them and there is so many reasons to absolutely love what the Warriors are about this year and to very much rate this side and to say, they're right in the thick of things this year, especially at the back end of the year when everyone's back to being full fitness and confidence in their bodies and things like that. I feel like there is something not there for some weird reason, or if it's just the fact that one or two of these teams have to miss out. And it feels like more often than not in a lot of these predictions so far I've seen, it's the Warriors that people are making way for. Yep. And it's not for anything in particular at all either. It's just like, unfortunately, maybe they're just not always at the forefront of our minds. But you look at one key element to what creates and makes successful football sides and seasons, it's forward packs. They've got one of the best packs in the comp still. And it's never spoken about. But you've got Barnett, Fisher-Harris, Aaron Clark, the reigning lock and one of the best players the competition last year. You add in Halasima, who now should have a consistent starting role. He's done enough for me to warrant that. Whether they go Niokura or whoever else on the other edge, man, that's right up there.
Yeah, it's elite.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Look, but I'll harp on this again. Round 17, they were 4th and flying, but Metcalf, and that was even before after Barnett gets injured. Metcalf gets injured. Metcalf was leading the Dally M even at one point, right? So once he got injured, they fell off, right? They lost like the 7 of the last 11. They fluked that win against the Knights, which helped them. And they locked that final spot and got the home final, which unfortunately they lost to Penrith. But again, like until he gets back, this is where it is. You can have this forward pack. TMM, if he can limit some damage, or even Tanner Boyd, if he can do that and limit the damage and help when he gets back, then yeah, everything's sweet. If they can scrape into the finals with a healthy list, no, that's a team you don't want to come up against, especially if you have to go to New Zealand. Yes. If they can get a home final, even it'd be tough to get to 5th or 6th. But they're a good team and they're coached very well.
And they've gone back to ensuring that home ground is an extreme advantage as well now. Like it's just a place where it's gone back to the old where people just looked at their draw and seen that they're going to New Zealand and they're like, shit, no way. I do not want to be doing that. And then they've gone back to that. It's a daunting place, which they need to do. Just on that back line quickly, I think it is remarkably stacked this year. And I'm going to read out some players, and I want everyone at home to remember right now, probably 2 or 3 of these players will be missing out each week if they're all fully fit, which hasn't been able to be the case of late. Rocco Berry, we've got, Khan Piera, new recruit from the Gold Coast Titans, who I do think will get a start there. Ali Leotawa, you've got Chance Nickel-Klokstad, depending on where they play him. You've got Tane Tuapiki as well. Adam Pompey, who has been sensational, starting to find some really good form. Obviously, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck as well. When you throw that in fullback as well, there's 5 positions there, and there's about 8 blokes there that literally very valid placings in that side. So 3 of those guys will be playing, if all fully fit, Reggies each and every week. It's a very good spot for the Warriors to be in. The only worry for this is the coach, Andrew Webster, needs to make sure he gets this right, because we've seen over the years, I personally have been very boisterous about this as well. I haven't always agreed with some of the selections and where they're fitting, and it's sort of out of where things should be. If players can be in their right position, it's one of the better backlines as well.
Yeah, and don't forget Watin Zelezniak.
And Watin is at the bottom of the list. I missed him. So.
But I thought you were missing him on purpose. But yeah, like it's a good problem to have, isn't it? Really, it is. I like the Wars. I think they've got a good future. I like their list. They're young. They're ready to go. 2026, I think, is a big year for them. Yep. If they can scrape into the finals again, that'll help. But yeah, it's off the back of their gun. Metcalf, I think CHT, Harris Tavita is a future gun. I really like him. He's just your standard, or like a meat and potato 5'8". He just does, but he just never does anything wrong. Yeah. And I like that from that with Metcalf beside him. I think they have to get that fullback position nailed.
Yes.
CNK isn't a bad fullback at all by any means. But when you've got that talent sitting there, you've got to harness it. Otherwise, he's going to go.
Yeah.
And I just think they need to lock that down, and they'll be a better team if Nickel-Klokstad's in the centres. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do.
They're such a hard side to
gauge,
pinpoint and get a gauge on for this year. When I'm saying the predicted finish here for the New Zealand Warriors, it just feels like there, as I said at the start, there's just something missing. I cannot put my finger on it. I don't know if it's just purely the thing that I'm just a bit nervous how Metcalf does return, because he's relying on his speed and things like that. That's what makes him such a dangerous player. That might take him some time to get back to the player that he once was. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the fact that they maybe have too many options, that it feels like there just might be a lot of chopping and changing, and the combinations might not be able to work as well as some other sides have it down pat. My predicted finish for the Warriors, and I don't know why I've even got him here, because it feels like we've spoken more positively than anything on the Warriors. It's just, I've got him 11th.
Okay.
I don't know why either. I honestly, I don't know why. And I'll take the hate. I get it. I don't even like seeing that. I don't even think they'll finish that. I just think when I did everything, and again, I'm guilty of it as well. It just felt like maybe the Warriors were the forgotten team that I just went, crap, I actually don't have a spot for the Warriors. But then once I look at my 8 and things like that, it just feels like those other teams are there. So if you go up against them, against the Dogs, who I've got as 8th, I'm probably backing the Dogs 8 times out of 10 to beat the Warriors in a matchup. I've got him 11th.
It's a tough one, these guys. As I said to you before, like, the people are sleeping on the Waz, and we should. You know, the way that they ended the year last year, the Metcalf injury, does Metcalf return? Like, we know that the Waz are so reliant on them. Look, don't feel too bad. I've got them at 10th, but I do feel bad myself having them there. But again, like, the talent around them in these teams, it's kind of like what I said about the Storm, right? I've put the Storm at 4th, but that's because those 3 teams above them, I think, are just unreal. Yeah. But I think the Storm can go up there. Like, I think the Waz, very much like the Rabbitohs, very much like the Sharks, can make the 8. Like, someone has to drop it in and out, and there's a team that we're going to talk about soon that's going to come up. Like, it's a tough one. The draw is really hard to do this year, and our predicted ladders. So yeah, I've got the Waz 10th.
Let's try and save ourselves somewhat. What about your player of the year for the Warriors?
Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Yeah, I was so close to putting him. That's funny. I actually just went. This is the one I wasn't quite sure about, because it's very dependent. I don't know if they're going to go this way still, which is very unfortunate. I've got Tuilagi in the hope he gets his fullback spot. Okay. If he doesn't, it's obviously he won't get there. But this is a big hope pick. If it was my second option, was Roger, just for what he does, and it's just he's so reliable with what he does as well. But yeah, Tuilagi in the hope that they do what I want him to do, and I think it's the best way for the Warriors moving forward, and that's to put him at fullback. The Dolphins finished 9th last year, just missed out, unfortunately, even with the amount of injuries and key injuries and the depleted pack that they had. It was a remarkable story, really. That Herbie injury really was the hammer to what they couldn't quite achieve in the end, which was unfortunate. But this year, I can't be any more higher on the Dolphins, Trav, to be fair. I look at everything they're doing. Like, I don't think they're up there with, like, Penrith, for instance. I'm not going to say I'm that extremely high on them. There is still a little bit of a gap, in my opinion, but I think they're the best. They're in the best shape they've ever been in. Since being a club, obviously, in the NRL. I've not once looked at them anywhere outside of the top 8 in any of my predictions either. Everywhere I look, the squad's stacked. Everyone seems relatively fit. There's obviously a couple of the niggles, but the guys who have had long-term injuries in the past all seem fairly fit. Like, they're doing some really good things in preseason, which is great. I'm the Dolphins. I'm riding.
Yeah, I've been riding them for years. Like, I always, ever since the start of last year, and they were in that 8 until obviously the injuries derailed them. To do what they did last year with all the injuries that they had, as you've said many times yourself, is just unreal. Yeah. I have them. I've been very conservative with the Dolphins, and I've got them in my 8, but in a certain spot as a conservative thing, because I think they could do anything this year. The Dolphins could literally win this premiership. Yeah, they could finish out of the 8. This is a very safe and conservative pick, but that team is loaded. That list is loaded. And then you now bring in a Cobbo this year. If they stay healthy, if Flegler's stay healthy and the like, then bloody hell, you don't want to be playing the Dolphins come final time. It's
funny you say safe and conservative. I see this side as anything but that.
Yeah,
they're just out there, extraordinary, and the style of play. Like, I've had an interesting comment thrown at me a couple of times, and there's a member of our what we do here, the page, who has said similar sort of things here, and I'll call him a little bit out for it because I just don't agree with it all. There's a comment around going, okay, they were the best attacking team in the competition last year, but how's that going to continue on, things like that. It's like, do you continue to look at what they didn't have last year And the fact that they were still able to be the best attacking team in the competition is just ridiculous. There is no way in the world they should have been that. They had consistently different combinations and things to work with almost on a weekly basis. They didn't have a forward pack to really work off for a lot of those games, yet they were still the best attacking team in the competition. You're bringing back Flegler, Gilbert, Plath, to name a few. Molo's turned into this freaking
Saifidi.
beast at the moment. Saifidi did some silly things for him that went underrated at the start. There is so much good happening for them once you add that to the piece. If anything, and this is scary, the attack could get better.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Here, they're not old either.
No.
They're all, Katoa's another year older. Like
Yeah.
he's getting better. He's going to get better. Like it's, the combination of him and Nicarima was elite for a long time while they were playing. And Nicarima helps Katoa so much. So if he can stay healthy, that's a really key combination. Averillo just went nuts last year. God, he was so good being able to push through all those different spots. So you've got...
And at the moment, can't even make the team,
can't even
it looks
make
like.
the team. So, you've got, it's an incredible team to want to be a coach if you were in that team. And I can't wait to watch. But, the funny thing is, they did what they did for scores, yet they were 12th for tackle breaks, which shows that the big boppers weren't doing much because they weren't there. 14th for post-contact meters. They were 10th for kick return meters. They were 13th for offloads, yet they led the comp in points. So, you get these guys like you said, Flegler's, Saifidi stays healthy, Plath stays healthy. Those four stats I just told you are fixed.
Yeah.
So it just dumbfounds me that people can say, oh, no, they won't do it again. Herbie's still freaking Herbie.
Yes. And they've added a guy like Morgan Knowles as well, another forward, another big bopper who apparently is doing fantastic things as well.
Sarko still is Sarko. You've got these guys are still these guys, and they're not old. They're not. It's not like they're going to be regress. It's only progress.
And the best thing is they've got Cobo on a 1-year deal, which
that's great.
Doesn't sound great, but it is because you want Cobo fit, firing, and hungry. He literally now he needs to be going from the start to get this new deal. Whether it's a big money contract with a new club or he gets to either go back to the Broncos or he stays at the Dolphins and loves it, which I actually kind of hope he does. It's a great story. They get the best version. If it doesn't happen, see you later. Averillo, come back in and we know you can do the job. It's not a bad position to be in at all. It's there's so many just upsides at the moment, green arrows for the Dolphins that I don't know. I can't see anything really. The only thing that I can see that obviously we spoke about with South, so it's only right to talk about the Dolphins. There is some injury history there. There is obviously there's a fair bit. Surely the rugby league gods play kind this year. We just want to see players like Flegler and Gilbert get through the whole year. Give him Platt, give him something.
JMK.
And just obviously they've been very good at it now. And I think last year this changed a lot. But we talk about culture and winning culture, and they haven't played finals yet. So it's a shock and a new thing for a lot of this squad that's been there. But they've done the hard yards. They've grafted for a number of years now. I think to do what they were able to achieve last year with the players that they had out for a lot of that, instilled what they need to have for this year. They're ready for it. They're ready to go. So there's not much happening that I look at, and I think that if that doesn't quite go, that they need a lot of injuries this year because their depth is insane.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There's one guy that we haven't even spoken about.
There's a reason I haven't spoken about who I think you're speaking about, because there's a thing called Player of the Year coming up that I think...
Well, there is, but there's also... have you heard of this dude named Fuller?
Oh, yeah, we go. Yes.
Have you
Little
heard?
live wire.
Everyone is talking about him being the better fullback. Hammer's no scrub. Hammer's a good fullback. But they've got this guy, and they knew that... And I think they're a better team with him at the fullback and Hammer on the edge. So I just... it's just fitting into that...
Everything.
That depth that they've got. Hammer goes out, Fuller comes in, right? Center goes injured, Hammer moves up, Fuller comes in, right? And you're not losing anything. If not, you're getting better. So it's...
Well, Hammer's shown in the biggest games in our game in Origin that he can dominate it at center. It's not a demotion. It's not anything. It's not a weakness either. He just
can go to a wing
level.
and he plays and he can dominate it on wing. The guy's just a try-scoring freak.
Yeah. What's your predicted finish for the Dolphins?
So this was conservative, like I said. I've got him 7th.
Yeah. I've gone 6th. I but only because, like I said right at the start, I do think there's this little bit of a gap just between the likes of Penrith, Storm, Roosters. I think there is that slight, but on the day, I think the Dolphins are right. Like, when it comes to finals, I think this will be the side that we're talking about. There's always that one side that we go, there is not another side in this finals race that will be wanting to verse the Dolphins, especially if they're relatively fully fit. It's just going to be crazy. And Player of the Year leads us to Isaiah Katoa. I'm going to imagine that's who I've got. Every year so far, he has gone to another level. Last year, he basically ended the year with many saying, with the likes of Cleary Moses and stuff, who are just guns in our comp, he's top 3 or so potential halfbacks in the competition. And this is with a side who was depleted, like we keep saying. This year, if he's going to continue this trend and go to another level with some of these forwards back, I don't know where we're talking about this guy at the end of the year, but it's going to be at some stupid level.
Yeah, this guy's a stud.
Yeah.
An absolute stud. I don't predict that he wins a Dally M or he gets the halfback Dally M this year. I think there's still a lot for him to do, and there's another couple of guys out there that have a bit to prove, and he's got a lot to learn still, but he is a freak. Like, the things that he can do is just incredible. And I don't use the word freak on too many players, but he is one, and he's going to be. He will win a Dally M. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Yeah. No doubt in my mind. And I've got him as my Player of the Year. Yeah. And he's hard to beat Herbie out.
It is. Harley spoke about him as well, but wait till he comes back fully fit. And after the season he had last year, where he's probably pushed ahead of Crichton in the slightest of margins and become the best centre in the game, which is saying something, because Crichton is just basically a god in that position. You don't say freak much, but you did say it about our last golfing day and the show that I put on. I must quickly say that was something special.
You finally won one.
Yeah.
So 1 out of 20 odd rounds that we've played.
The West Tigers. So let's go into the West Tigers. 13th last year. Started to show some improvements on the field. Obviously didn't get a wooden spoon, so the only way was up for them, which they were able to do. Unfortunately, though, it's the West Tigers where they felt like coming out of that last year into the off-season, there was a bit of like, so keen to see what the Tigers can do this year, see what they can do. But the boardroom once again's gone, no, hang on, let's grab the attention here, and have just exploded the place. Granted, now it's been almost a month now where it's gone back to relatively quiet, which is surprising from a Tiger. A month's a long time for the Tigers to be quiet. I'm actually shocked by this, waiting for something else to happen. But hopefully someone's gone in there at some point and just literally said, there's enough. It is enough, because you look at them on the field, on their squad is actually probably the most unreal squad they've had for a hell of a long time. This is a serious football side now. They can actually win some really good games of football. They've got some really good signings in there that are starting to establish themselves. Word is that Luai's going back to his preferred position at 6, which is one of the best 6s in the game, so I hope that does happen. Terrell May is a freak, so there's a lot of good things on the field where hopefully people have just gone, enough is enough. I don't think it'll happen. I think there's going to be plenty. It's the West Tigers. It's just what it is. But it sucks, because if this squad was anywhere else, I reckon we'd be talking so much higher up about them and their potential this year. But we just know the inevitable is going to happen, and the boardroom's going to get involved and just destroy everything.
Yeah. They had a very good year last year. And it, as you said, it was only up. You've thrown 3 spoons in a row. Like, it had to be better. And then when you sign Luai, and he comes in, you had to be better. I think Benji Marshall showed improvement. I still don't think he's that coach, but he definitely improved and showed that he's there. But he's locked in for that 5 years now, so he's not going anywhere unless it's going to cost him a fortune. Yeah. That there's talent across the park, right? That's what it is. It's just whether they can pull it together. The problem with the Tigers is that whilst they've gotten better, other teams have gotten a hell of a lot better. Yep. And so, as long as they don't finish on the bottom of the ladder, I don't predict that they're gonna be hard to beat. Yep. There's going to be teams out there that are going to lose to them, and we're going to go, yeah, well, it's the Tigers. They can do that. I just don't think that they're a finals-bound team, but they're going to be competitive. You're right.
Yeah. The issue for them is they're probably very heavily reliant on their starting 17 as well. Like, there's one or two under that, but then after that, it's quite a drop off just for, again, one of those sides that they just need to give these guys some time to really develop their games into that first grade player. So there is that heavy reliance on hopefully being quite a fit side, which we know just won't happen either. So there's that worry in the back of our minds, probably thinking when we're looking at these things and where sides will finish and stuff like that, unfortunately, they're going to have 6 to 8 games this year where they're going to be quite a weaker sort of side in reality, so they just won't get wins there. So, but like I think the big news there is that Lua goes back to 6, which I don't think he was ever really a 7, and I think I was verbal with that last year. I didn't like the fact that they were signing him for a 7. It put a lot of unwanted pressure. He's very similar to Dylan Brown as well, where they're 6s. I don't know why people or clubs are so adamant on pushing these guys, and the argument, if you're paying them big bucks, they need to be your halfback, or if you're paying them big bucks, they need to be your fullback. If you're paying them big, they just need to be a top 3 or 4 player in that position, which Luai is.
Yeah.
You want him to play at his best position, which is 5'8".
No, Luai's a fantastic Robin. It was probably the best ever Robin to someone's Batman, right? And he's so good to Cleary, next to Cleary.
Yeah.
And that's why they won Origins. It's why they won all those premierships, because he was next to Cleary. And Cleary was your Batman. Luai's not a Batman. He's not that leader. He's not that guy you're going to take in, but as a playmaker and that. But he's your culture setter. He's your captain. He's your leader of that. Like, he will do that. But on the field, it's a bit different. He just doesn't have that nous. I like the Dewey combination that with him at 7. I'm really, really keen to see that. And they've got depth with Fainau to play there. So, and those boys, those 3 brothers are all going to take another leap. You got likes of like a Buller as well at fullback. Like, he still hasn't signed yet. But, and so that's, I think, going to be, unfortunately, a distracting story. And there was a few other little bits and pieces that are going to be stories, but that I think we can predict that's going to happen. But, I
love the storyline of Dewey and Lua being that halves pairing. Latu coming off the bench. Potentially is that
that's
sort
a good
of
one.
That role. I think he will light it up. That 14 live wire role, I'm really looking forward to
the
seeing.
other thing is, like,
those
2 are 80-minute guys, like Dewey and
just have him as covered more so. Like, I want him to be 80-minute players.
You're happy for him not to play?
Yeah, I've also heard an outlandish, I don't know if it's outlandish as such, but I've also heard things like, whether it's during a game or whatever, Latu either goes to 5'8", Dewey goes to, say, that lock role at some point and plays like that in mid-game, things like that.
Dewey's a good lock too.
Hybrid sort of thing. I don't like it. I've actually heard a couple of people mention Latu maybe become a lock, but he's too small, in my opinion, to handle that. I want him just sniffing around playing that playmaker role. So just depending on what it is, but it's a good place for the Tigers to be now. It's the fact that they've got a guy who's nipping at the heels who can do what he can do in the halves and to not be starting. That's great. You want to be that. Yeah,
absolutely. And then, like, you bring in a KPP. Well, I think he's going to make a big difference to their edges as well. So,
and he'll be allowed to offload at the Tigers. The Knights, for some reason, didn't want him to. Adam O'Brien was just boring. The Tigers, and I think Benji will know that for the Tigers to actually beat some of these players, they actually do need to play a bit more out their style. And that's Benji, obviously, as a player, that's what he was. So I reckon he'll just encourage it.
Terrell May sound like that? Like, KPP's not Terrell May, and they're very different players.
To play footy.
But they allowed him to play footy, didn't they?
Yeah. Predicted finish for the West Tigers. I've got them 12th. So as I said, I just don't think they're going to be able to withstand some of what's going to happen throughout the year, whether that's on or off the field. On the field, injury-wise, off the field with just what we know of the Tigers.
They're better than they were last year.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a finals team. They're going to be in that. They're one of those teams that's 5 to 12, like you said, that they can win any of them. But I've got them at 12th as well.
Player of the year, what do you got?
Yeah, I can't go past Terrell May.
Yep. Go on, Jareem Buller.
Yeah, I like that.
Contract year, obviously there's a lot of talk. There is some whispers at the moment that Tigers are starting to firm now, which they haven't really in the past, as extending him, which would be great for them to stay there. We've seen last year's docker that they did and how inspirational he was and some of the things he was doing and how much the playing group love him. I think this could be a big year where he wasn't quite himself last year. I don't know what it was, if it was some impacts with what happened with Galvin and stuff like that or whatever it was. He just wasn't quite. I think he bounces back a lot this year and people remember just how good his year was the year before. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can produce. The last team for us for the 2026 season preview, the St. George Illawarra Dragons. So last year, the Dragons finished 15th. So a couple of wins outside the wooden spoon, but they're just another side that, unfortunately, we never got to see what they could really do last year because their forward pack just got depleted. There's so many really good young players who really needed last year because they needed that 24-game period to really establish themselves as first graders, get that under their belt. They were at that stage where it was like, yep, let's take that leap now. Some of them just didn't quite get what they needed. Instead, they've been in rehab. They've been getting their bodies right once again, which will probably hinder them a fair bit this year. I think it's another year where it will take the Dragons some time, but another weird one that I think they're in probably their best position they have been in as a club in a while.
Yeah, I said last year, and I'm going to knock this down again, is that if I was a Dragons fan, I'd be very happy.
Yeah.
But what I would do and what I suggest to them is to be patient. They've just got to be patient. These guys are going to be very good players, and this team's going to be very good. And the coach is a good coach. He's got eyes for his son, obviously, but he's a very good coach. So they've got everything in order, and even their organization is in order to a degree. Anyways, like we're not hearing a lot. Their team's stacked. They're just babies, and they're just not ready yet. It literally, and they're half partners. They've just got to work that out. And Atkinson coming across as a full-time half is going to be huge for them, but it's going to take him some time. I don't think he comes in and just and miraculously makes this a big thing. If they look, I can see them making the 8. Like I can see it in a dream world.
Wouldn't surprise you.
It wouldn't surprise me. I just don't think they do.
Yeah.
I think they're still going to be very close to the bottom, but far out, they're going to be competitive. And if you're just going to, any team that's got Gutho in it is just not going to die in the arse and let wins happen.
Yeah. I love the fact that obviously now with the Keon signing, the confidence that it will bring in, the hunger to this forward pack who will be learning on the run this year. But it's like they're learning and they've got to drive for the bigger picture. Where it's like the Dragons are now with letting these big signings, with this especially big signing, they're saying to the competition, they're saying to their squad, we are truly believing we're going to be premiership heavyweights or contenders in the next couple of years. You want to be part of that? Let's start going. We're going to really need to start pulling our finger out, putting in some really good, consistent performances. Jerseys are there for the taking. Who's going to grab them? And I think that's a great spot for the Dragons to be in at the moment. The little worry at the moment for the Dragons is the fact that some of these star signings they've signed over the last year or so are starting to get to the last bit of they're rinsing that water out of the towel sort of thing. And is there much water left?
There's only no. I will. I'll answer the question with straight up no. Yeah. But it is Gutho and it is Cook, right? And even if Cook is out, like you've got Liddell, like he's good. My issue is obviously who's going to replace Gutho at fullback. Terrell Sloan's still there, but he's so
far on the outer. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How he's still there, I've got no idea.
He will jump in there if Gutho misses out, but like future proofing them. That I don't know if they've got a fullback to replace a Gutho, but I don't think that's a problem for them. I don't think they're worried about that. I think they're just going to sit there this year and see what they can do and go from there and give these guys like Egan, Atkinson. Hopefully they can get Tuapoloto healthy. Sua is another year older and getting better. Tonga is going to get better. And it's that fight for combination with that. There's the two Couchman boys.
Just
Stewart.
quickly with the Gutho and Cook stuff, what you're talking about, I'm not worried about it at the start of the year, not at all. I'm worried about it at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So when that stage where we see the competition where you start to go, all right, let's get into that fifth gear. We're going into the finals and we're building in. We need those wins. That's where I'm worried about. Can those two especially get to that gear anymore? Yep. It's going to be a big start to the season for them. They're going to Vegas and stuff like that. Once they get there, can they just keep going? Because they'll need them to. There'll be key players in key positions that they need to excel, and I'm just a little bit cautious that they can. And you're right, the last point with the Dragons, obviously the halves and what happened. So Atkinson, or has a mortgage on the 7 by all reports. There's just no chance he even will get dropped, anything like that. So it's a battle of the 6. Flanagan versus King Tonga. I think it's a no-brainer King Tonga. I have a feeling that they're going to be going Flanagan, and I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think King Tonga has shown he's got that bit about him. He's got something about him. I hate how critical some were last year of his defence because he's a young kid just into grade he didn't really have a protector because the forward pack was just depleted. So any accommodation there just didn't quite work, or whoever was with him wasn't quite up to it. I reckon he's got enough for me to keep running with it. I'd be going King Tonga.
I like King Tonga, but I would go Flanagan. Okay. Just with the combination of Atkinson.
Is that Flanagan in there? Is that Shane? For the mask off.
I would start that way. I think the future is King Tonga. I really do. But to start the season off, I would have the combination with Atkinson and that, because I just don't know if Atkinson and King Tonga would work early. But I think that's what they're going to do moving forward. That's what I hope they do moving forward.
Yeah. Predicted finish for the Dragons, Trav?
Where did I have them? I have them 16th.
Yep. I've got them 13th. So I've got them just doing enough, just being one of those teams that are in and around. I really do like what I'm seeing from them, and I just hope this forward pack can stay fit, because if they can, people are going to really start to see this kind of football team that they can be, and they will trouble a fair few. Player of the year, going off that, I've actually gone Hamish Stewart. So a young guy who I think they'll be really wanting a lot out of this year, and I think he will excel in that as well. Obviously now no Jack de Belin either, so there's no reliance on him. So I think, in a way, Hamish Stewart almost becomes the Jack de Belin now, the modern day, because Jack de Belin's been at that club for so long. He came through as a junior, basically a young guy in the pack. He's the same now. I can just see very much similarities, and I think this could be a really big year for Hamish Stewart.
Yeah, it's a good shout out. I've got Sewer.
Yeah.
But I'm very high on him. I just think he's a very underrated player as well. Yeah. But there's some good players still. Like Holmes is a good player. Tui's a great player if he stays healthy. So yeah, there's talent across the park. The Toby Couchman, if he stays healthy, is a future guy for him.
Yes.
I think they can all be in the running, but I think Sewer's got it.
Let us know, guys. Let us know anything that you've listened to, watched, whatever it is, your opinions. We value them. So make sure you are letting us know all your opinions, all the comments, likes. It all helps the video obviously grow and stuff like that as well. So let us know. We'll be back. Obviously, all our shows will be hitting the ground running very, very shortly. The season is shortly underway. We'll be kicking a few of them off during the preseason as well, for the trials, So you get a bit of a head start with some of these big shows that everyone's keen to get in and amongst. Obviously, the magazine, guys, so the Legends group, make sure you are part of the Legends, $4.49 a month. Go and read that preseason edition. You do not want to miss out. But obviously, a big thank you to where we are today, Caxton Street Brewing Company, for hosting us. Once again, we've very much overstayed our welcome for sure, but they're so patient with us. They're brilliant with us. We love it. We hope you all enjoy us doing these away from where we normally do them as well online. So it creates a great element here. Thank you to Rob, producer Rob. Sorry about the Cowboys bashing brother, but I actually watched him a lot of the time. He actually nodded his head for a lot of it. So he's almost we've got him covered. And Trav, thanks again, mate, for coming along for this crazy ride that we love to do these ones. And thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it, guys. Like, subscribe. We will see you all again very, very shortly. Goodbye.